Hello and welcome to Revamped, a rewatch podcast covering my all-time favorite shows and movies. I'm your host, Brandon Alexander.
And I'm your co-host, Courtney Autumn.
Together, we've been journeying through Buffy the Vampire Slayer, patrolling the streets of Sunnydale, but now our path expands beyond the Hellmouth as we continue to follow Buffy's battles and growth.
We also step into the shadowy streets of Los Angeles to join Angel on his quest for redemption and his fight to discover what it truly means to be a champion.
Venture with us through every episode in order as we experience the story from two perspectives, Courtney's first time watch and my seasoned rewatch, doubling down on the themes and moments that shape the Buffyverse.
We'll examine pivotal choices, major story arcs, and explore the deeper layers of each show's continued character growth and development.
All while engaging in conversations and sharing our own authentic thoughts and feelings to what's unfolding before us.
So sharpen your stakes, ready your swords,
and continue to stand with us against the forces of darkness as we journey through the supernatural worlds of Buffy the Vampire Slayer
and Angel.
Let's get into this episode. Pretty ketchup and mustard. They got the mustard out. They got the mustard out.
Did my shirt make you think of that?
Sure. Well, I said catch up. We got to catch up. And then I start singing about mustard. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Revamped. Today, we are going to be covering Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Season 4, Episode 6, Wild at Heart. Aired originally November 9th, 1999, written by Marty Noxon and directed by David Grossman. This episode's gross. It is a little gross.
It actually is. Now I'm thinking about it.
I mean, not purely gross, but, it's gross, man.
There's some gross parts, both like figuratively and literally.
Sort of, kind of. Why don't you let us know what's going on in this episode?
I shall. After sensing a connection with mysterious singer Veruca, Oz discovers she shares his werewolf curse, forcing him to confront a darker side of himself he can no longer control. As his bond with Veruca intensifies, Oz's relationship with Willow begins to unravel, leading to a devastating choice that changes everything. And so it does.
Literally, though. I felt like that was the end of a spell. Did you cancel it out? Drop the picture. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Let Oz and Veruca's deceitful hearts be broken.
Jeez, yeah.
Literally me anytime I have a problem. Willow start casting all them spells and shit. I was like, look at me. In any moment of needing to do anything whenever stuff does not go my way.
I was going to say, at any time of pettiness.
So, Wild at Heart, here we are. We've arrived at this episode. Kind of a heavy one. Very interesting, everything that goes down in it. I have a slew of some show notes because there was a lot worth talking about within this episode, and mostly to provide context and a little explanation to Courtney, because the only context I gave her was after we finished watching it and Oz's van drove away. I looked at her and I said, by the way, this is Oz's departure from the series. And she goes, does he go over to Angel? And I said, no. He's gone. There is no more Oz.
So sad.
So sad. So Whedon says losing Green was a heartbreaker, and so Willow got her heart broken. I took what we were feeling and put it onto screen so everybody would be on the same page. Basically, so we all would have our fucking hearts ripped out because this was so unexpected.
Yes.
Upon original watch as well. Obviously, this is your original watch, but it hits every time the exact same way. I'm always so sad because we love Oz. Oz has really never done anything wrong. He's been our like boundary king, our beacon of boyfriend hope, our actual like positive relationship aspect between every relationship on the show. Him and Willow's has been so pure until now, till his heart goes wild. So Seth Green was in demand for bigger screen film roles around this time, specifically the movie Knock Around Guys, and he would have to take time off from playing Oz to do as such. I mean, obviously around this time he had just come off of doing like Austin Powers, he was in like those other movies. He had just been getting more into film roles, and he really wanted to pursue that because Seth had stated, I felt like we hadn't done anything that we had talked about with, the character. I felt like the character's potential versus what we actually were doing was in drastic opposition. Oz was not often a main player, and he compared his purpose to just standing around in big ensemble scenes and hopefully having one line to contribute. Very, very accurate. So he suggested since Oz wasn't doing much, he could merely take a brief break in spite of being now listed as a series regular, only for the showrunner and the writing staff to simply write the character out entirely. Some see it as a shady dealing, but others attribute it to the agreeable fact that they didn't do much with Oz overall, and Green kind of gave them a well-positioned out in that way. Seth later did elaborate a few years ago in Evan Ross Katz's book Into Every Generation, saying the deal that we were able to craft was that we would do the first 6 episodes, which led into me leaving to film Knockaround Guys. I still posited that I could keep this contract. They could simply just not pay me for the episodes I was not in. And the Suits were like, Suits being, the businessmen, well, this is against corporate precedent. And he was like, you guys, none of that matters. He's like, what do you want? And they said, we want you to do the episodes. And he's like, well, I want to do them, but I want to make these movies too. I'm not trying to make enemies. I love everybody here and I'd do this forever, but I know we could do both. And feeling like this fight was idiotic was something that he said in the book. Now, there are rumors that Joss deliberately kind of wrote Oz off the show because he was breaking his contract to be a series regular and messing up the storyline that they had originally planned for him. So, they probably had to backtrack, go back and write some things out to flesh down his character instead of where they were fleshing him out. And how Seth even tried to speak with him and say that, let's put me back as a reoccurring cast member before I was on the, main title sequence. Let's go back to having me be in sometimes there'd be an episode or two that I'm not really in or something like that. And he's like, no, that's not the vibe. We're not doing that. And Joss apparently chose the route that we see ultimately for the character because he couldn't get his way. And I'm not, how do I want to put this? Personally, I don't doubt that because we will return to the similar vibe with Joss Whedon later on in the Buffyverse when we get the chance to talk about it then. And I mean, we've already kind of heard this energy with Spike. You may not remember this specifically, Courtney, but back in season 2, whenever Spike first came on the scene, somewhere along that season, he was actually supposed to die. And Joss got pissed off because a lot of the fans watching the show were obsessed with Spike. They were like, we like him, so they wanted to keep him around. And he pulled him over to the side one day and was like, I don't care how much they fucking like you, you're dead. Apparently that obviously did not turn out to be that way, but he had made comments like that before. I wish I could kind of go into it more. Maybe one day later, or not even maybe, it will one day kind of full circle make sense where I'm kind of going with that. But I could see Joss Whedon being the type of guy that he is, being like, no, I'm being a little diva bitch. You've done fucked up my show and where I was going with your character, so now I'm just gonna be a little petty. Even if it was just a little bit, I'm still sure the energy was still there. But my mindset around that is had they have continued on the show, I'm left to surmise that they were going to flesh out this Veruca and Oz storyline across multiple episodes, make it a bigger arc of a problem for them, not for the whole show, but between Willow, a little love triangle kind of thing. And maybe he's running around cheating on Willow or something like that. Or I don't really even know. I can't even begin to picture in my mind where that storyline could have went to. But honestly, thinking about that versus this, I'm kind of glad we didn't get that. I'm glad they didn't flesh that out because I ain't trying to see Veruca on my screen any more than this episode in the last couple times I've seen her, especially coming off of Beer Bad and shit. It would have been weird. Fear itself foreshadows the events also with Oz's comments in that episode to Willow in comparison to her magic practice. And he was specifically in that episode saying, I won't lie about the fact that I worry. I know what it's like to have power you can't control. Every time I start to wolf out, I touch something deep, dark. It's not fun. And then later on in the frat house, that fear manifested and Willow shouts, Oz, don't leave me, when he runs off, leaving her so that she is safe. It's a fun way to foreshadow that. We had that in the last Halloween episode, honestly. Last season, that they were kind of foreshadowing some other stuff that we eventually got to that kind of came up too. Similarly, in Beer Bad, they did the same thing with Professor Walsh's words about the id in her class, saying all that stuff about the ego does what it wants, the id does what it wants, it acts on impulse, yada yada. And not long after, we had the interaction with Oz and Veruca in the bronze that made Willow uncomfortable. The werewolf is a metaphor for the unrestrained id, and we got strong hints in that in Oz's reaction to Veruca's singing in both episodes. So I like how they were kind of breadcrumbing us even before we got there to say something is going to happen with these two. I still got some show notes to go through really quick, but like I'm like trying not to like pause. I didn't pre-think this part out where I like almost kind of want to naturally stop and pause and talk in between these, but I know we'll discuss what I have to question in like opening thoughts. I will say something funny that I remembered. Becoming Buffy talked about Veruca whenever they did their coverage for this episode, and I'll never forget listening to their coverage of it along my journey. Like I don't remember half the time what I listened to on podcasts. Little things might stand out, but like this episode and a handful of others I really truly remember from their journey because there was like funny moments. But like Sarah found this interview with Paige Moss, who plays Veruca, discussing her character and like the audition process and whatever. She noted that if you look up what Veruca means in like name origins, it means the word wart. Like, so this bitch is a wart. I just thought that was funny. So I add that in here. The interviewer, though, somewhere along asked her if she thought Oz would have chosen a life with Veruca over killing her, to which she said yes, and that they belonged together, attributing them to being your face right now, attributing them to being soulmates and comparing them to Buffy and Angel's story. And when she started to say their bond was something special, etc., Tabby on the podcast just starts busting out. She's like, "I'm so sorry, I could not hold in. Like, I couldn't take you seriously what you're saying."
Me,
literally though. And she was like, "I'm sorry, that is like 1,000% not Oz's soulmate." And she was like talking about how she's delusional and shit, like the actress on her like interview. It was so funny though. I remember laughing along with them like so intensely to that thing.
In a way, she's giving the guy from the Angel episode we watched, what is it? Is it Fall to Pieces or what is it called again? Yeah, that one, the guy, she's like the female wolf version of him. Like that's the energy she gives is way more like, yeah, it's way more like obsessed stalkery, like
in her
I'm
own
in fantasy
world.
land with us. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like, and this is bad because this is coming from the actress, not even from like Veruca talking. Like, you know what I mean? Like on the sidelines of the show or something like that, living in her own head. It is what it is. But if y'all want to hear that coverage or just like even that section, I think it starts around the 33-minute mark in Wild at Heart for Becoming Buffy. I totally suggest going and listening to it because it's so funny. I had to message Sarah this like picture of my notes when I wrote down this little section as a callback, and I was like, "Sarah, I remember this from your podcast," and I'm like, I have to put a little insert into ours and like plug y'all for it because it was so funny. And she's like, "Oh my god, that was so funny." She's like, I think Leah 2 seconds later goes on about comparing Oz and Veruca's love to like a dog pissing on a fire hydrant or something like that. It was just so random. I think I got that right. I don't have time to pull up the text message, but it's so funny because they go on for like 10 minutes on this big rant about Veruca's delusion. It's hilarious. Speaking of Veruca in general, though, couple of questions I have for you. One, what do you think of Veruca? Just like now that we flesh her out as a character a little bit more versus where we have been, like where do you sit with just Veruca?
You mean now that she's dead, or what have I always thought of her? Because
just like the storyline, like her character, like everything that like what she presents, what she brings on. Like, how do you feel about Veruca? When I say like, how do you feel about Veruca? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll start by saying that she's my weekly wigs this episode, if that summarizes how I feel about her. But I don't know. Obviously, I think they did a good job, like you said, breadcrumbing her character into what formed into this episode and into the ultimate like ending for all of this. But initially I didn't see this coming. I don't think, like, I knew that maybe there was like an attraction or something weird was up with her and Oz for sure, you know, because of how they like stared at each other right away. And I like the evolution of her character. I don't think that I really saw it coming, like we just touched based on that she was more what seemed to me like a delusional person. You know, like with the way that she presented herself, she was very like mysterious and very, there was something about her, you know, that made you curious, and not just because she was like on stage and doing all these things. That she was just like a very mysterious character, which I kind of appreciated for what it was. But now that we are where we are, she's just cringy to me. Like, I don't know. All of her motive seems so Oz-centered, obviously. And I don't know, it makes you question everything about, like, why did she end up there? And what was her motive all along? And what would she have done had Oz not been, like, immediately reciprocating some sort of mutual, like, energy between them or chemistry or whatever you want to call it? You know, like, it just leaves a lot of questions for her motive overall. And I don't like when that's the whole entity of someone's character, because you're like, do you even know do you even know them? You know, like for how
Yeah.
they presented themselves. And so she's very confusing, I think, as a character for me. But yeah, at the end of it, I left not liking her very much at all. And I'm sure that's probably a mutual opinion. I would
Yeah,
assume.
I personally don't care for her, obviously, mostly because she basically leads to breaking up Willow and Oz. But
Yeah.
I like her character on the show for the fact of what, like how it gets laid out. If Oz has to leave the show, and then this is the way they're gonna do it. This is it's a breakup is kind of the perfect way to write somebody off in a way. Like drama shows
Totally.
and relationship centered shows, things like this, or the romantic side of things. That's how TV shows happen. That's how movies occur. Like or what happens in them, such and such occurs
Yeah. And
sometimes.
you're totally right too, because I was gonna say, like, for Oz's character specifically to leave this way seems appropriate
Mhm.
because they could have killed him off and
That's what
been
I was about to
extreme.
say. Like,
Yeah,
I'm happy they didn't
exactly.
decide to kill him off the show. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
I like, even though I know because you told me, like, "Hey, this is the end of Oz's character," if from the viewership of it, I like that they leave it open-ended too, so it's not
Mhm.
like this really final feeling like it is, because you know he's leaving and it'll probably be a while before you see him again, but until you know for sure that he's not coming back as a character, you don't see him trickle throughout or whatever, then it doesn't seem like this overall ending. And I like that they left his character almost open ended. So if they wanted to squeeze him in later, they could. You know, it doesn't seem like the same ending as it would if they killed him, obviously. And that would have been like way more devastating and not aligned, I think, with his character at all. So I'm glad, like you're saying, that it was a way more humble experience as far as like getting a character off of the show. But especially because like they could have been really cruel about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like I was saying, I do like what Veruca brings to the show to open up this storyline and like how it kind of puts war like I don't know, this is the most fleshed out we've ever seen Oz be on the show. This is
Yeah.
like the Oz centric episode. Aside from the phases episode, because we kind of got that Oz featured episode whenever we first found out he was a werewolf and whatnot. And this is a kind of way to complete his werewolf story in a certain kind of way, or at least add more to it. I think it's safe to say, I guess, that you do not think Oz and Veruca should have been soulmates like this delusional bitch thought. I'll say the only people that should be soulmates around here are me and you, as per usual. And then I'll
We're
move
the
on.
only true example of soulmates.
Yes. Uh,
No, I definitely don't think that either. I totally agree with you. And I think that's a delusional concept to have, especially because there's not enough longevity, you know, there. I get like what maybe she's saying as far as like this mystical connection and like they're both being werewolves or something. But no, I mean, no.
no, and no. To preface something else, Oz has this quote from this episode: "The wolf is inside me all the time, and I don't know where that line is anymore between me and it." Marty Noxon compares Wild at Heart to season 3, episode 4, Beauty and the Beasts, which we explored Oz's werewolf side a little bit in that episode as well. Just obviously, we're running that and comparing it to Angel as a rabid beast, to Pete like being a monster in that episode, but it wasn't as fleshed out. He was just like a particle of something going on there. But Marty says, "What is your basic animal nature? How much of that should be fulfilled, and how much do we have to resist and say no? That's a dangerous impulse. Many of the problems we have between men and women are based on the fact that we deny a lot of these impulses and blame other things. The question of how much of me is animal and how much is man, and how to control that, is a big reason why Willow and Oz end up breaking up." Which I thought was interesting. And for my last little bit of show notes, I'll end on this one. Sarah Michelle Gellar said in Evan's book that losing Seth on the show was really hard for her. She had just got off of losing David, you know, from the previous season. And then here so soon after, she lost Seth. And those were hard transitions for her, both of them equally. She was going to miss him on the set because he was such a familiar face, because they grew up from childhood together and were great friends. So he felt like this little piece of home to her. So she had a really rough time transitioning between this energy and like taking it a little bit hard. I thought that was really sweet, because clearly like her and Dave, him and David meant a lot to her as far as like being on the set. So now this bitch is just left to like be like, okay, well, what do I do now? Where are we going to go with the show? But I have a feeling she got over it once that paycheck came in for this season. So
So true.
But yeah, like that's just some little digging I did, like I said, to provide a little bit of context to anybody that may or may not know, but then also just kind of for the knowledge of you knowing exactly why they kind of decided to do this. Obviously we'll flesh out a little bit more maybe as we go through. I feel like this episode might be a little bit meaty to discuss, as I told you yesterday when we were watching the episode together, doing a little Courtney Reacts video. I was surprised you did not bawl your eyes out and cry. At the very end, I did go back and watch the video earlier this afternoon when I was laying out in the sun. I was watching it to see, because I didn't really pay attention or look over at you. Obviously, this isn't the same grade A level of like the same way a death would take us, like Jenny Calendar or Buffy killing Angel, because you cried both of those instances. But I did look over and you had a little bit of like a well up tear in your eyes. You kind of had a demeanor on you where you were like not feeling so great about watching Oz leave. And then I kind of broke that away from you whenever I was like, by the way, he doesn't come back. And you're like, what? Like, you had to clear it up really quick. And then we, we're like, it's 4:20, let's go outside and smoke and forget about Veruca. So that kind of went that way. This episode, to say though, just really quick, is very sad. Like, as I was saying in the beginning, and I'll say every time and always forever, Oz, we love him as a character. He's been such an important part of Willow's journey. So every time I arrive here, I get super bummed about it. This is something very interesting to like point out, that like, just like other episodes I've known we've been waiting to get to, I've known this was coming obviously the whole time. So I was curious about how you were going to take it. And I know, and I even told Sarah the other day, I was like, Courtney likes Oz a lot. Like, he's been one of our favorite characters, no matter how minuscule he is on the series. Why we like Oz stands for itself. But like, how do you feel about the episode overall? And then like him leaving in general, I guess, if we need to add more to it, if you didn't already get that out there. Maybe just tell everybody what you like about the episode.
It was a bit confusing for me because it wasn't clear right away that it was so final, like I said, until you told me that that's basically them writing his character off. I wasn't really aware of that. Like, I feel like they left it kind of open-ended to where if they wanted to place him again somewhere in the future, they could, And so to me, maybe that's why I didn't get like overwhelmingly sad about his departure, but I am sad knowing it because, yeah, he's my favorite character on the show. I feel like he's just this emotional kind of anchor on the show because he has he's not very, how do I want to put it?
He doesn't
he's
get
not,
worked up.
Yeah, he's not very like
neutral.
over dramatic. Yeah, and he's not very easily phased and all these things. Like Buffy said in the episode, he has a very stoic type of behavior. And I like that about him because none of the other characters in the cast are like that. And so I feel like he really provides us neutral point of view and a neutral place to go emotionally when we need to, when things are chaotic, and they place him there. So to me, he had a great purpose on the show, no matter like how small he felt like as a character, the way that he defines it with his placement and his lack of lines given and so on and so forth. I feel like his character's energy overall said enough on its own, and so I'll miss that about the show for sure. The episode overall, I feel like, was really great in the way that I always love it and always say, with how they combine both of our worlds emotionally so well, where it's like so supernatural or metaphysical or all these other elements, but we have this real, very commonly experienced problem that involves infidelity and the emotions behind it. And I will say that I love Willow's acting in this episode is just like top tier. You just really feel for her, and you feel like it takes you back to those feelings that you had when you may have experienced stuff like that and been in situations like that. And they are so gut wrenching. And I feel like she does so good at like conveying all of how really layered and deep and all of that is, and the progression of it all. Most of us feel intuitively when we're detached from our partner and when we're distant from our partner and when something might be going on and when there might be another point of interest. And the way that the evolution of things took place for Willow, you could really feel it all emotionally. So I really like that they kind of kept that like as the center point of this episode, because it was great. It was well done. I really enjoyed it. I don't know. It might go on one of my top lists for the season just because like emotionally it was like a roller coaster, and I appreciated that. And I appreciate that Veruca is no more. Like you said, we don't have to see her again. So yeah, I like this episode a lot for the fact that it was both so real and emotionally layered, but also so crazy with like the CGI and the
Yeah,
effects
yeah.
and like,
They actually are
you
playing
know.
around with the practical effects and the CGI a lot more this episode than we've seen in the past with like the werewolves and things like that.
Exactly. So that kind of kept it fun in ways, because especially watching it today where we're in 2026 and it's not like this thing that you're kind of experiencing in media for the first time, and you're just kind of like, what the fuck are they doing? You know what
They
I
don't
mean?
know. They never do.
No. So
Uh,
that kept it fun. But yeah,
yeah.
how does it feel for you? How many times do you think you've watched this episode? Is this like something you go back to? Is this like you skip over this
I
one?
mean, I never skip over any of them, as we've said millions of times. But when I arrive at this one in the journey, I'm always kind of like not ready for it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it is a really good episode. I basically, a lot of my notes kind of mirrors the same thing that you said. The only, I think, addition that I have really that was a little different than yours is like interesting how basically almost a real year later, like a season later, we're dealing with the mirroring of Willow's betrayal to Oz, but like with the monster of the week take on it. Like it's a very similar like thing that occurs energetically. Like Willow and Xander were having these few episodes where we were kind of being breadcrumbed into what's going to happen with them. We know something's going to come out about it. Now this was a lot different because there wasn't anything going on behind the scenes, but it was just looks and vibes for Veruca and Oz. So it was interesting how it all plays out and stuff and how they do the take on it. I like the fact that Veruca ends up being a werewolf. Like I didn't see that coming the first time I really watched it around either, but obviously the second we see the secondary werewolf, we're like, oh shit, that's Veruca. Like there's no doubt in my mind about this. But we're like wondering, like I think I had said in the past, or maybe I say it somewhere in here, I don't really remember what I said because all of them do start to blur together, but like I remember leading into it, even this episode, when she's singing and things, I was like, is she like a succubus or like a banshee or something like that? Like not even a banshee, they scream, but like just like a siren or something, someone that uses music to lure their victims in. And maybe she's like attracting these people in weird ways. Like, well, actually think it is in this episode because I talk about it like in the opening sequence, whenever or next time she performs on the stage. But like I thought that one might be like where it's going towards, and maybe there was like a reason that she was specifically choosing Oz or like really attracted to him in whatever way. But you kind of pick up on all this stuff and you just kind of hate it. I mean, I don't really care for this type of energy just because my parents kind of like did this stuff to each other, but it's not like Oz is just making the active decision to cheat on someone in this episode either. There are so many circumstances around it. It makes everything a sticky situation. It really isn't something to where he's just being malicious and ill-intended and being like, oh, I have attraction to this other person, I'm going to go explore it. He almost really doesn't have a choice. You know what I mean? He knows what his feelings are, and his feelings are valid for him to be feeling the way he does leading up to all of this. But it's just kind of one of the things where like we expect Oz to do a little bit better. And I always, and especially this time, kind of found myself coming down on the side of being like, damn, Oz, like I'm disappointed in you and how you reacted this episode because you've been keeping it a secret the whole time and not telling anybody when you could be effectively communicating, when that's one of your most positive traits that I've witnessed and talked about and doted upon this whole series so far since you've been on it, you know? But I like the episode. I've seen it a lot, obviously. I never cease to cry. Like you said, Allison Hannigan's acting is so on par. That's what makes me empathize so much with her, with everything that's going on, because just like Buffy, like when Willow cries, she has such a specific way of doing it, and it really pulls you in. Like I'm surprised I didn't blubber beside you. I was crying when I developed the script. I will say that. Like I will always cry watching this episode. It doesn't hit the exact same way, but this is the finality of Oz that kind of makes me start to cry just because I know that he's not coming back. And then this is the end of their story. So like for me on the side of things, like, you know, watching the first Halloween episode and you know, and ironically, that's where Oz kind of sees Willow, like across those episodes, really kind of the first time. It's the first time he really sees Willow, like in her costume and derobed from her geeky kind of normal self and stuff like that. He actually seems like he's taking interest in her. You start replaying all these times, like when they've like started to kiss, when she loses her virginity to him, like all the stuff and instances they've been for, how much support he's been for Willow and whatnot. All that plays like a reel in your head when he starts to drive off in the van at the end. Like after you've watched the show for so long, you know, you start to think about that. But yeah, this episode is really good. The last thing I have physically written in my notes for my opening thoughts is, have you ever noticed that Veruca, aka Paige Moss, kind of looks like Tamu Tara Reid? Like
I knew she looked familiar.
I know. I always used to think so too. Like not in a crazy big way, but like a little bit. She kind of truly does. Now that we blabbered for like almost 30 minutes on just like the show notes and how this has happened, let's go ahead and grab your Kleenexes, everybody, and get ready to go through the episode. Just kidding. We'll see. We open with Buffy chasing a vampire through campus, passing by a slew of students and eventually landing in a dead zone out of sight with the vamp.
Thanks for the relocate. I perform better without an audience.
She takes on the vamp, completely kicking his ass, him getting 0 licks in. Love to see it. Yet amongst her unappreciated dialogue of what she thinks are her, no pun intended, painstakingly well thought out puns, get it, painstakingly, she delivers the 2 caper slate and, dissatisfied over this lame ass vamp walking off, talking to herself about how the powers that be are not even trying. They could give her something to work with. And then we found Spike looming overhead from higher up, having watched this and heard her, adding she should watch her mouth and she should know better than to tempt the fates that way, because the big bad is back, and this time, alluding to the fact that it's going to be different, but not, because we see that he is tased from behind like the vamp at the end of The Freshman, and then our resident military men now honing in on him and dragging his ass away as we fade to black and cue the Buffy theme. Meow, 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 meow. Except this episode is like this is us every time we have a side episode. Okay, so obviously once you start rolling the rest episode, you probably forget about this cold open. But like, what the fuck have you got to be thinking in your head? This is almost like a preemptive Slayerette predictions right here. These bitches like got Spike.
I know. And we have yet to know what these bitches are.
If you think about it, this episode, like, one spurts them out in there a little bit more now, but it kind of bookends. It starts with this military interesting thing, and then, or not an interesting thing, the military concept, and then it ends with Buffy talking to Giles and telling her about the military people, thinking that like she's seen them around campus, but she just thought they were one thing and not another. You know what I mean? So it's kind of interesting.
Because that was during the Halloween episode, right? Because she mentioned like thinking it was.
We've been seeing them, and that was the first time she noticed them. You know what I mean? Like because we've been being breadcrumbed to whatever could be going on, but now we're starting to sense, I'm assuming, and you're starting to sense that there's a presence.
I mean, they seem very military-esque, unless that's just like, you know, to throw everything off. I have no idea, but I can't decide if it's like, are they trying to use the vampires for something, or are they researching the vampires? You know, there's like so many options. Or are they trying to get an army of vampires to get, and who are they? You know, is it the military? Is
I don't know. I've never seen this season. So.
Is it? Shut the fuck up. But yes. Oh,
what's up,
feeding
Brittany?
Time.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't know. It's very it's another layer of mystery and that I'm very curious about.
All right, cool. Well, we'll talk about that more later. We arrive back with our gang at the Bronze, pondering why they are returning to this place versus the newer college atmosphere. Willow noting this place is her comfy blanket, you know, the one that she can come back to. It's where everything is predictable. As the unpredictable occurs and Giles steps into frame saying hello to the gang, and Buffy immediately thinking that there's trouble because, you know, why else would Giles be here? That's so funny that they associate Giles with that. No, he's there to squeeze in like Kathy, remarking on how it's been ages since he's been to a gig. I think it's so funny because he like goes ooh, ooh, and like grabs a chair and pulls it over, and like kind of like Xander and Willow and them scoot, like make room for him and stuff like that, and they're like, what the fuck is happening? I wrote my notes and I thought it was so cute. I'm like, oh, Giles wants to hang out with everyone because he has nothing to do at home. He's so bored. Like,
it's so sad.
But it's cute because now we're like, okay, Giles hasn't been able to be a part of the show anymore because he's not being sourced out in the library the same way. People have been going to his house, like Anya, or like we've seen them hanging out like at the end of Halloween or something like that. We've seen it in that capacity, but otherwise he hasn't really been doing too much. I also like how everyone's demeanor changes when he arrives. Oz's face to the gig remark is so funny, and then it's sweet when he backs Giles' record collection up and he like gives him his flowers for that. He's like, hey, whoa, I've seen his collection. We saw it a couple episodes ago, and like all of that. But I like how the gang accepts Giles as part of their hang session because after all,
why not? The stones can still keep rolling. Why can't Giles?
Exactly. I think it's brave that you're here.
Well, thank you, Paul. You made me feel right at home.
Well, isn't home that empty place you're trying to escape?
it's really cool. that Giles is here in this way. I also like how, obviously we'll continue to see the bronze, but I like how they had to bring the group back here as like one more dynamic together before Oz kind of leaves to put them in here, but also to kind of like create what comes next. Because we've heard the music queuing up in the background, and the gang turn to watch the stage as 𝐿, Veruca's band, kicks into their performance, aka the song Dip by THC. On the way, by the way, to your house yesterday, I forgot to show you the picture. I was behind a license plate that said 𝐿. I was like, naturally, I was like, fuck Veruca. Buffy clocks Willow's uncomfortability, you know, at Oz becoming mesmerized by Veruca and having the awareness of the issue, tries to distract him with, you know, when the next Dingo's performance is, like questioning him and things like that. And Oz does answer, but it's not just him who seems to enjoy her. Giles seems to think she's more remarkable because Buffy's like, I'm bored, like, color me Fiona, like, whatever. She's like making a joke about Fiona Apple, like attributing her to being similar to her, which I could totally see. I find this moment really interesting just because, like, first, poor Willow, like during the scene, she's trying to do anything that she can to seem supportive, I guess is the best way I can say it, because she grabs Oz's hand and she's like, they're great, aren't they? She's trying to be like, I'm on board with you. Like, I think Veruca's band's cool. You know what I mean? I can be a part of this too, versus like, almost trying to like put herself in the same lane as Oz, like thinking that, because obviously he thinks that she's the fucking Jesus Christ of music and or whatever, the goddess of music. And I thought it was interesting that Oz just looks at her and he's like, nothing special. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Especially as we go into this episode, I'm like, bullshit. I hate to see it for Willow because you can like almost tell that her women's intuition has already been going off, like it has been, and now it's just intensified, and it's dead on. Like, she's not wrong, but also she kind of wants to protect what hers. I think I saw her grabbing Oz's hand as her kind of like claiming him as hers, reminding him that they're each other's, even if right now, like, you know, it's just jealousy over Oz clearly being attracted to someone that is not her. That must suck for someone to witness their partner having eyes for someone else right in front of their fucking face. Like, this is going on for episodes now, like, I mean, 2, but still. It goes into what Willow says to him later in the mausoleum also, just to kind of put that out there now. Something else I wanted to bring up, though, the look that Buffy gives Giles and Xander, who also seem to really be enjoying Veruca's presence. Giles makes the comment like, oh, I think she's remarkable. She's got such talent and stage presence for someone of her age, whatever. And then you watch them. I had never paid attention before. That's where I started thinking like, oh, they're also getting entranced by her too. Like, maybe this is what I think they were trying to red Harris in a way. You know what I mean? Because I was like I was saying earlier, maybe she's a siren. Maybe her music or energy lures men in or something. Like, again, that's what I thought originally watching this episode. It's trying to like bait you into this before, so that way I guess maybe you're more shocked by the reveal later on what's actually occurring. Did you catch that at all? I didn't.
I mean, I went back and forth on it because initially that's kind of how I felt. Like, is this part of her thing? You know, if she has something going on, is this part of her like spell or her magic or whatever? And then I started thinking about it from a different way for some reason, and I couldn't tell if they were having Giles and Xander react the way almost that Oz was toward her, because then it made it less big of a deal. Right. If that makes sense. You know, like, oh, it's not just Oz that's affected. It's like everyone at the table, basically. So I don't know. I didn't know if they did it to create this almost disillusionment of like, this is just how everyone reacts to her when she's on stage, you know? So like what Oz is doing is not like to water it down, you know, like that kind of thing is like initially where I was going in my head. I was like, are they just watering it down that it shouldn't be a big deal? Cause like they have two other people at the table doing the same fucking thing. Yeah. You know, but it was weird too that he said nothing special or whatever, because I'm like, clearly your jaw's on the floor every time she's on stage, and we're flabbergasted at your behavior and your way of making it obvious and not knowing like, what's going on,
especially with like the actual actress. She puts an interesting performance on in general. As she's singing, she's like raising her leg up against the mic, and then I can feel
very like sexual,
like the way her neck and stuff rolls all around. Like even later in the episode when she's about to morph and stuff, you can tell she's like very animalistic in person, which makes sense for the reveal later as well too. But I'm just like, what kind of stage presence is Giles attracted to? Like, like whatever this is. Like I said, I kind of into it, but like at the same time, just because she's making it her own, like that goes to say though, Paige Moss does really great as Veruca the whole time. Her acting and stuff is on par and whatnot. I really like the stuff that we get across the scenes with her specifically alone with Oz. I think it's really cool. She plays the character very well. Moving along, though, the scene fades into the next day at Oz's place as he and Willow wake up. Or better yet, Oz wakes Willow up from her sandblaster nightmare. That was so cute. He's like, all right, now you're faking it. She's like, I'm not. These two totally woke up horny, and since it's almost class time, that means tonight they can get it on. Oh, wait, nope, that's a no-go because it's the night before the full moon, which means it's wolf night. And, unless Willow's really freaky into bestiality or whatever he said, Jerry Garcia or whatever the fuck that is, which is apparently some really hairy guy. Besides, Willow has Wicca group anyway, so this is not going to be a thing. They won't be getting the fuck on like that. It kind of sucks because like when you go to break up, you got to have sex the one last time, and they ain't getting that apparently.
Really not.
We finish this cutesy scene with some kisses and longing for one another as we revel in the last time that we see these two sharing space in this way together ever again. That goes to say, like, contextually, I didn't write it down obviously for time and stuff, but in the dialogue, she's like saying that she's got Wicca group like she's invested in. She's like, we're only meeting right now this weird irregular time. It'll be different next month. Maybe it'll be on the times that you're in the full moon. So while you're away, I'll be away, kind of thing. I think it's interesting just to throw it out there, and that's why I'm bringing it up, just as a reminder that Willow's kind of joining a Wicca group, so that way she can like be around other people that are like witches. So she's forming some sort of community, so stay on the lookout for that. But also just like the conversation that they're having, it's very like close and very energetic quality wise together. He's like, I want to be around you and things like that, yada yada yada. I'm just like, oh my god, they're trying to destroy us when you go back and watch this after knowing what comes back or what is going to occur when you come back to it. Later that day, we find Buffy getting some flowers herself on the assignment paper that Professor Walsh is handing back to them on the way out of class, rightly irritating Willow in the best way, because Buffy has yet again done better than her academically.
I mean, this is excellent. You did better than me. This is so unfair. You made me jealous of you academically. Buffy?
I know. Can you believe it?
Wow. I guess Professor Walsh isn't so ovary after all.
And she wants me to lead a discussion group next class. That means more work, right? Shouldn't she have a better reward system? Like a cookie or a toy surprise like at the dentist?
Immediately I automatically think like 1430 Buffy, you kicked ass, whenever like she's like, you did better than me on your SATs like last season. She made a comment, she's like, you made me jealous of you academically, like yay, and then like it gets regurgitated this episode in a fuller form way, but like that's really cool just to say for Buffy herself that she's rewarded for her work that she's doing. Like obviously we often have not deemed her as a good student, mostly in high school, because she's got these Slayer issues. She can't show up to class half the time. She's burning down gyms, whatever the case is going on. It's keeping her from her academics. And like honestly, before she even became the Slayer, she was like this Miss Popular, like basically Cordelia-esque person that probably, and not to stereotype, but most of the cheerleaderist girls, they go off in the show, just like, or shows and movies, representation wise, just like the jocks kind of get grouped into being the dumb ones, or the ones that like they get barely scooped by, you know what I mean? They're not caring about their classes. They're more worried about being popular and being with the in crowd and stuff like that. So Buffy came off of that, my assumption was like she was so vapid and shallow whenever we first met her, even in that one little scene whenever Angel watches her get called. We know that's the life she came from. So like it's really nice to see that like in an episode, and this is the way I guess I'll put it because I didn't put it in my show notes, I read somewhere else that like Marty and everybody was talking about, and Joss and them, like, how do we make this episode about Buffy? You know what? They're like, for the first time, we're not going to make an episode about Buffy. Yes, Buffy's presence is here, but we're not going to find some core theme or metaphor to relate to Buffy this one. We're going to focus on Willow and Oz. But even in this way, this is how they give Buffy her flowers for the episode and say, like, this is what Buffy's got going on. She's succeeding in school. She's getting her props. Now she's going to teach a discussion group. Like, LOL, by the way, at the fact that, like, leading the discussion group, she realizes and goes, wait, that means more work, right? And she's already like, fuck, like, damn it. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool, but I want to give Buffy her flowers for her achievement here, because that means she's doing good in school, and maybe now she's got her groove again. Like, she's not, I don't know, we're leading into that. Back from the jealousy, Willow offers to Buffy to meet up with Oz and her for that celebratory cookie, and she agrees after her stop to speak with the TAs Walsh has suggested she will do as such. Clipping us to outside, we find Oz on the way to meet Willow outside the cafe, I guess, because it's like a seating place. I'm like, weren't they like, did she say we're meeting Oz? Like Oz already got his coffee or whatever the fuck he's drinking and stuff. Like Willow's supposed to go get hers and meet. They ain't texting and saying like, hey, I already got my coffee, meet me outside. Like, how do they know? Like, I would assume they inside the actual place waiting for Willow. Like, no, you outside sitting with this bitch. No, I don't know. That's a whole confusion thing. Either way, he runs into Veruca and having a weird bit of interaction as Veruca offers him to sit and Willow can join when she arrives, because contextually he's like, oh, my girlfriend's coming, and she's like, well, she can sit with us too. And the way she makes that comment, she's like, you just gonna stand there, like, or you gonna sit on the ground, whatever the fuck she says. You see this look come across Oz's face, and this is to go to say that Seth Green fucking puts his pants on today with acting as well, or the period that they shot this over the course of this week, because like I read in his face, he's almost like questioning, like he looks around too as if like, is anybody going to see me? Is anybody going to catch this, that I'm sitting with this girl? It's really interesting to really look at. I'd never really paid that much attention. Thankfully, the topic turned to music discussion, and unthankfully, Willow notices the two of them from afar as she's like coming up, and she sits down and it's immediately be like, the fuck is going on? Like she has the whole dialogue with them where they're like talking about amps and stuff, because obviously they move on to talk about music because that's fluid between these two. And Willow comes up and he's making those comments about like Hound Dog and stuff. She's like, oh, I love Elvis, and she's like, bitch, we're talking about like music equipment. Like it's weird with the names they give them. I get it, but like it just shows us that she's not in the same lane as like them trying to relate. She doesn't have the relatability to this world, but you think she would, with how many times she's toured around with Oz, went to his shows and stuff like that. You think she'd be right there in the garage or wherever the fuck they're practicing at, listening to every little nitty gritty thing, being Willow as well, someone who's super like
yeah,
I don't know, she pays attention to everything. Do you think that she would be at home reading music books to like be able to relate to Oz like seasons ago, not just this season?
Yeah, or like cast a spell to make her know everything about music.
Something, because clearly Willow likes to source out magic to solve her problems.
To cut a corner.
But the whole scene is like tragic. Oz has to bail for what I guess is to leave these two chicks together for a moment so we get the awkward interaction for them before Veruca grabs her burger to head off for herself. Of course, pointing out Willow's air quotes good shirt beforehand. First off, I like Veruca's girls don't eat and body image like call outs that she says, because he's like big lunch. Which is funny when you think about it, because obviously big lunch, she was a werewolf the night before, so now she's got a big appetite. Usually something that big would have a big appetite, so it's like a little foreshadow, a little like a bit of like leading us on. Great for disrupting the expectation, though, for how women are supposed to manage food intake for their body, like for the sake of their body in general, like their image. I like the fact that that part's in there, and like how Veruca delivers that line, because she says like, I hate chicks that don't eat, essentially, and Oz says me too. That being said, like within that also, that's coded itself as well. Like I read that as Oz like the admittance that he's into her in that moment, you know what I mean? Yeah. And also like fuck Veruca too, because her comment about Willow's shirt, like Willow's shirt is ugly. This whole outfit, she's got green socks on, a fucking blue jeans skirt, these ugly brown shoes, and then this fucking top. Like I was like, most of her clothes, no offense, are not cute, but like what a shady bitch to like be like, good shirt.
I know.
Damn well that shirt's ugly as fuck. That's like Regina George talking about some, oh my god, I love that skirt. Where did you get it? Vintage, so adorable. Like no. I feel like I like ran through and I didn't even like say what I wanted to really about the body image thing, but I thought that was an important message to kind of get out there. Like she's this grungy fucking chick and she's saying like, I don't subscribe to like society's rules about myself, which plays into how she feels about being a werewolf too, you know what I mean? So it kind of like everything ties together that way. This is like obviously where we really start to not like Veruca, because we're like, ooh, she's coming in between them. Veruca passes Buffy, arriving to Willow, and Willow is quick to admit that Oz finds Veruca sexy, having noticed that blush behind the ears effect that he only used to get from her. The two discuss Oz's harmless attraction over his love for Willow, but it's still something that's bothering her, and Buffy again trying to affirm that Oz isn't the type to stray, and her thoughts on it all blowing over soon anyway. Plus, full moon, so he will have a break from the world and being locked in a cage and all. Buffy is so supportive right here. She's like trying to talk her down, and honestly she's given Oz the benefit of the doubt. I think that there's so much validity to her saying like he's not the type to stray, even though he's a dog and dogs typically stray technically, but like how great to be a friend, but also admit some kind of truth here, because even though like Willow's kind of seeing this, she's like, yeah, like you can be attracted to people, and Willow even says that I've had wrong feelings about people before too. That's human. to have feelings for someone, or not even feelings, but like have attraction to other people. Your attraction to human beings doesn't go away just because you're in a relationship. You just kind of hope you're in a relationship one day where both of you go like, especially if you're like bisexual, basically like us, but not. Where I could be like, damn, that bitch is hot, and you'd be like, yeah, that bitch is hot. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly.
we should try to fuck her together. Like, you know what I mean? Some are like,
you don't always have to go that far.
Like, no, for real. Unless you're Veruca and Oz. Like some relationships have that, especially if they're open and non-monogamous or whatever. That's maybe their predetermined agreement, whatever. But I like how Willow calls out herself here and says, like, I too have had that feeling. So maybe you're right, Buffy, kind of thing. But thank God Buffy was telling her this, trying to talk her off a ledge, because, you know, Willow's just having a tough time with this in general. But once again, it's something that, like, just like Xander says later, you should just go talk to him about this. Some of this might have been able to be cleared up before it started to unfold, had there just been communication happening. And that's just something we've seen on this show that doesn't always kind of happen until the last minute or way later in hindsight. They fail to communicate the right way. And I get it. You're trying to like upset people and do these whole things, but if anything in life that I've learned, you always have to communicate stuff. You have to be on the same page for stuff. Even if you need a few days to process something for yourself, you still got to come back and talk about it. You can't just let it like sit there and fester, because if not, it's going to fucking blow up. Like clearly, you know?
No, I agree. Yeah.
Where part was I? Cage, blah, blah, blah. We get a little round of cutscene transition magic here to sundown as Oz enters the cemetery. Moving into a crypt, we find he's made his new space to woof out and locking himself in the cage space. I thought this was a nice little thing to add in here, because we had no idea what Oz has been doing since the high school got blown up, because he used to be in the high school like weapons library book cage, like Giles's little office space, whatever, you know what I mean? Like the book return cage or whatever it was. So we're like, what has he been doing the last half a year since the school's been gone? You know what I mean? So they gave us this, and I thought this was a cooler setup. He has much more space in this little room than he had in the fucking little library thing. Like, and there's no window in here either. So upon nightfall, the moon rises and he woofs out, and the aggressive woof version of himself breaks down the door, escaping out into the world. On campus, we find Professor Walsh exiting class and walking the campus, hearing shuffling amongst the bushes, only to be attacked by Were-Oz, being chased down by him, only she doesn't get far before a second lighter-colored werewolf appears before her, and now she's caught in the middle of the two. Hopping out of the way, thankfully, causing the two to collide upon attack as she watches them tussle around the ground before running off. Courtney's like watching the episode, and she's like, bitch, what are you doing? Run! Like, and then she finally did. She's like, all right, great, Professor Walsh is safe. The next morning, we find out in the wilderness, Oz is waking up confused with scratch marks along his body. Only he doesn't wake up alone. He lays there nude with Veruca, who offers him a good morning. This is so quick to unfold, but like the way they did this shot is very reminiscent of the first time we found out Oz was a werewolf, because it showed him wake up the next morning in the middle of the woods and he's like, what am I doing out here? He's naked and he's confused and stuff like that. It like was this whole same kind of pan down and stuff, except this time we're not finding out that he's mutating from a werewolf to a human. We're finding out that there's another werewolf sitting right here with his ass. Thoughts on this revealed? What was going through your mind when you saw Veruca laying next to him?
Yeah, I was going to say, like you said earlier, when you see two of them, you quickly figured that that's what's going on. So it wasn't as shocking, but obviously getting here is kind of shocking just because they're also like naked, and you put two and two together real quick, and then you're immediately disappointed in Oz, you know? And so you kind of wake up with that same feeling that he later conveys throughout the entire episode from this point forward, because it's very clear that him and Veruca are not on the same page about what's happening right now. Yeah, which makes me feel like she's a crazy bitch, because she's not.
She is a crazy bitch. You don't have to think that. We see it basically from here forward. After she's got that dog dick, she fucking, that wolf dick made her fucking sent her. Like, she.
I feel like she was crazy before. She was crazy upon arrival. It's just getting like more unhinged now. It's been activated more because of that. Yeah,
it kind of is interesting to think about, and I'm really having this epiphany now. Obviously, she's out at the same time. I didn't see her like eating anything or what exactly she was doing out there, but it's almost like the fact that Walsh becomes this buffer between the two. Obviously, they both go to attack Walsh, but they kind of crash together. I think Veruca was out here when she changed that night looking for Oz, because she knew this was the first full moon since she had come to town and sensed him, like she said. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think she was out there searching for him, or like not like, I don't know. It's so interesting to think, and that's why I'm thinking like it might be a little bit meaty to discuss the werewolf story a little bit further in Oz, what he's been suppressing, where Veruca has been letting all of this occur. So maybe she's learning to meld with it, and maybe she's not like as far gone as Oz is, because Oz says all throughout the episode, it's like another thing takes over. It's not me, but she's sitting here attributing like the wolf is literally her all the time. Maybe the human is the mask that she wears and not she's the wolf all the time. You know what I mean? So maybe she's been a wolf for so long that she now remembers not that she's cognitively the same thing. She's still an entity, more aggressive and stuff like that. But maybe she's just like, I know it's kind of like when you have a vivid dream or a lucid dream and you can be in your dream knowing that you're dreaming. Maybe while she's a werewolf, she knows she's still Veruca. She's not like that far lost anymore. I don't know. I say
I
that
don't
for
know
later.
either. See, to me, because of her delusional standpoint on where like she's romantically at with Oz and all these things, I don't know. Like she's giving this energy that's almost like she's desperate for one thing, and so that makes me almost feel like she's using that as an excuse to be kind of wild. She's using, instead of taking responsibility and maintaining it, because in your regular day-to-day, which outweighs the amount of times that you actually come into your form as a werewolf, because like Oz said, it's 3 days, 3 nights a month. Okay, that's way less time than the rest of the fucking month, you know? So I'm kind of like, yes and no. Like, I get what she's saying, metaphorically speaking, but as a human being, you have the responsibility that Oz is taking, which is to keep everyone safe, including yourself, you know, because when people find out about you, you're going to get hunted, you're going to get killed, like all these things are going to happen. So for the responsibility and safety of everyone, you have to maintain the fact that you're a human, because the time you are human outweighs the time that you're a wolf. So I feel like she's using the fact that she turns into this thing 3 times a month as an excuse to act delusional and crazy and do things like she did with Oz and attack people. And I'm just like, that's so irresponsible. It would be different if every night at sundown she turned into this thing. Then yes, you have a total battle on your hands about what you are right now. But I think it's very easy to outweigh the time and just let that summarize that you're human most of the time. And so you should act according to just that.
With Veruca specifically, obviously she doesn't have the mindset around everything like Oz does. If we think about it, and I think I say it later, so I'll just skip it then, but like Oz comes from this world of I'm protecting the innocent. I'm working with this gang of people that are do-gooders, fight evil forces. He knows that he himself is like this supernatural force that can be like relayed as to be kind of like evil, even though he's not fully energetically evil. You know what I mean? Like even as a werewolf, they're just out there roaming around. They are wild, but it seems like Veruca has just embraced all parts of that, and that's why she's naturally so frivolous in life. Like why she's so wild as a character in general, you know? Oz seems stunned at the fact that Veruca is a werewolf, but she claims he's known since the first time she saw him, biting at his arm playfully, asking him to relax, something that he cannot even fathom right now. Her asking what he wants to do, and first it's get out the woods and go to the dorm laundry room to steal other people's clothes. I was like, where are they? I was like, they went to the laundromat, and then they say we're like the college students, like in the dorms and stuff, they have like shitty clothing choices and dress like dumb people. Apparently, I'm like, fashion out per Veruca. She's not wrong. Oz is then voicing he needs to head back to his cage to figure out how he got out. And Veruca's very confused at the fact that like she's like, the fuck you have a cage? And she's like, I'm all about natural embracing on who I am. Like when everything occurs with me becoming a werewolf. Veruca then voices some serious truths that Oz was not ready for as well within this exchange.
God, somebody's domesticated the hell out of you.
It's my choice. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Maybe. Or maybe you just don't want to admit what happened to you. Maybe you just want to pretend like you're a regular guy.
Well, I am. I'm only a wolf 3 nights a month.
Or you're the wolf all the time, and this human face is just your disguise. You ever think about that, Oz?
I'm going. I gotta check the papers, see if we did any damage last night.
Oh, we did.
She also delivers the harsh truth that the two totally fucked while they were in werewolf form, but also how they could do it again now in this form. I like how like it shoots to the floor. She's like curtsying her little toe across the floor, like tracing the floor with her foot.
Being a hoe.
Honestly, yes, rightly so. But Oz ponders for a moment too long before stating that he won't be doing that. He's like stopped, staring off to the side. He doesn't immediately go no. He just is like, that sounds hot. Like, but no, because he's totally attracted to her. But he just doesn't want to admit it to himself. And then he also is like, nor will I be living as free as Veruca is making the wolf sound, not at the risk of harming innocent people, and how she shouldn't either. Veruca offering, soon he will see, not only that, but how they belong together. Here goes the illusions. Him leaving after exclaiming, that's another no, because he knows where he belongs, obviously with Willow. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, listen, the scene's tough to watch, like right here, just to say, coming at it, processing thoughts around it for the pod, like all I wrote down in my notes immediately was wow. Just because he's so enticed by her, he's letting her fill his head because he wants her. He really does. Like, even her like moving up his like chest and stuff and touching on him, he doesn't smack her little hand away and shit. I get it too. Like, this has to suck because like I said in the beginning, kind of, and even right now, I give props to Oz. He says no to a lot. Like, he doesn't let anything occur right now in this moment when he totally could. He does, at the end of the day, have a good mindset of not hurting people, like we were kind of talking about, and how he wants to contain what he's become. But it's really fascinating to see the other side of him from Veruca's angle, like sit with how she exists as a werewolf. That's how most people would probably in this situation. They wouldn't be locking themselves up. They wouldn't even think to do that. This is where it kind of relates to what you were kind of saying. Because like I said, Oz is a part of the Save the World team. So he understands what could happen if he gets out. And he then doesn't want to, like, read in the paper the next day some weird wolf was running around and killed 3 people. And then he knows that was him that did that. It doesn't lay on his chest the same, or it lays differently on his chest the same, what am I trying to say? It doesn't lay on his chest the same as it does Veruca's. That was so hard to say. The only thing like I really down Oz for here is for not going straight to Willow and admitting what occurred as soon as he makes the comment of like, I know where I belong. That would have been best. Again, still messy and a problem, but that wasn't on Oz what happened the night before. He could not control that. He was in wolf form, as so he says, and he happened to find another wolf. I mean, what looks to be occurring is that they were fighting and being like, oh hell, I've got to stand my turf, and then they somewhere along the way realize, oh hold up, I got a P where you got a V, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's animalistic to fall into that. Like, it just it's a thing, especially when the fact that Veruca probably started sucking his werewolf dick in the middle of the fight because she's been searching for him and sensing him. Has he sensed her? Like, she was out there, she was already wet as fuck, like dripping, looking for his ass.
I'm done. I get hot.
I don't know. It's just interesting. But like, again.
But here's what I want to say about that too. I found myself wanting to excuse a lot of Oz's behavior that is normally very disappointing if he were just an ordinary dude. Because it does seem like they portray it as very animalistic and very animal, like primal and instinctual for them. So there's kind of like this weird, confusing emotion happening because it's no different than like when cats mate. They don't do it for pleasure. They're instinctually pulled to do that for reproductive purposes. Their brain there's no choice in that.
Yeah.
And for a lot of animals, actually, sex isn't pleasurable. It doesn't feel good. It's actually painful.
They're doing it
so it's not like,
yeah.
So it's not like this thing where they're like, ooh, oh my God, let's do things.
We about to have little baby werewolves running around.
So yeah, I feel like I have a hard time with like being disappointed 100% in Oz because there is a part of him, ironically enough, during this time of the month where he is going to act on that animal instinct and he doesn't have his good logic in the way to make like sound of mind choices. So I'm just like, where does this line lie as far as how aware he was in his decision making process throughout all of this, especially when everything comes to a head again with them physically. It's the active full moon, so it's all these things that are kind of circumstantial where it's almost excusable, even though it's not.
Yeah, and that's what makes this episode so intriguing because it's like it's the epitome of catch-22. It's really damned if you do, damned if you don't, this episode for him, because there's all these, like I said in the beginning, circumstances that warrant everything happening, and it's almost just like this really big mistake. But once again, when you're back in the regular form and all this stuff's occurring, you're not speaking on it. So like, that's the part where you have to slap his fucking ass across the face. Like, you have the opportunity because you're playing it off like you don't remember shit that you did the night before and stuff like that. And you very well might not know that you and Veruca fucked and you was deep in that shit the night before. But when you woke up naked to her, and based on the way she's acting and stuff like that, and she's talking about what they did, he knows what occurred. Like, we know that we're starting to the sense maybe he's getting his, like, in his heightened state of being like Veruca's acquired, and now Oz is like turning into a different version of the werewolf, where he does start to recollect what he did a little bit more so, or maybe they were hit the process of the two, like he says later, and like I said in the beginning, I don't know where the werewolf lies and where I start anymore. They're blurring together at this point.
That's true.
So,
yeah.
Interesting. Later, we find Walsh walking with Riley in the school, telling him about the two creatures from the night before, eventually running into Buffy and informing her also about what happened, so Buffy can realize, we got werewolf problems. Cut to Oz's room where he searches through the paper for reports. Willow arriving in a new look that screams she's trying to look more sexy and appealing, aka like Faith. I do like this purple top that she has on, but Willow in leather pants, it's gonna be a hard pass for me because they're loose. She looks like she's uncomfortable in this outfit. So I was like, Willow, you need to go back and put the damn birthday top on. You need to go put on a little frilly skirt, or where the fuck else you be wearing. Where's that pink outfit from last season? Like, let's just wear that today.
Where is you as a vampire?
Yes, to kill Veruca. Either way, she apologizes for the day before spazzy awkwardness around Veruca and him, and tries to pursue him sexually, only to be turned down because, of course, he is feeling guilty, but not expressing it before Willow feels rejected and leaves. That whole scene there in itself, once again, he's lying to Willow. He's not telling her like what's occurred. We see that part where she goes to pick up his shirt, and you almost think he's going to slip his shirt back down because he doesn't want her to see the scratch marks and stuff. By the way, I clocked Seth Green has like a scar on the left side of his body that's like an actual part of his body. I want to know what happened. It looked like he got shot with something in the back or some shit like that. Like,
shit,
what the fuck happened to you, Seth Green? I'll have to Google that. I don't really care though. But I saw it and I was like, oh, interesting. But like this whole time, she's like trying to have sex with him. And this is a weird situation because this is like what I told you when we were watching it. It's awkward because it's like the night after a person cheats, they go back home to their partner and then their partner tries to initiate sex with them. And they're like, they've already gotten theirs. You know what I mean? And either they have to sometimes put on a show.
Probably feel weird. Yeah.
Exactly. The last thing you kind of want to do is have sex if you out there cheating on someone, like especially with the person you're cheating on. Like, no. But I don't know. I found myself so frustrated with Oz and stuff like that at this moment. I'm like, damn, she's like coming here trying to do all the stuff that she was doing the previous morning too, being like, oh, I got all these thoughts in my head. Remember what you said you could do to help shut them up? And he's like, nah, I'm good. But then he's doing that whole like, I'm tired thing. I can't right now, which makes sense. You were a werewolf the night before. You were probably up all night, like supercharged, didn't get any rest. I wouldn't be trying to ask him to fuck either, but Willow's trying to do this for a different reason, clearly.
Yeah.
Over at Giles' home in a quick scene, Buffy arrives to chat with him, to which he's super excited about having company or, some business for them to do together. He's like, do you want some tea? Do you want some of the moussaka I made last night? And she's like, I'm good on the tea and the mousse. Lucky for him, though, people actually may be in danger. She tells him about the occurrence and the assumption with corresponding features that it screams werewolf action, and he suggests speaking with Oz, which will be her next stop. Once again, like dipping into the world of Giles, he's sitting here at his fucking house, like watching TV, screaming at the fucking talk show, game show, or whatever the fuck he's watching, and like just chilling. He gets so excited when Buffy arrives. He's like, "Ooh, company!" He's like, "Can I offer you things like to make you stay around for longer?" If you really watch it, though, in hindsight, Buffy stays here for all of 45 seconds of a scene. She comes in the house, says, "We got werewolf problems," and then leaves. He's like, "And report back to me ASAP." And she's like, "Will do. Like, I got you." And he's like, "All right. Hey, we talking about 15 minutes? Like maybe like at 6. I'll make some lasagna if you want some." Like, he said, "I got some cans of SpaghettiOs." Buffy said, "I'll be back at 6:10." Over at Xander's, over at Xander's basement, because it's not Xander's, that's his parents' house. At his basement, Willow arrives, and it's so cute. She's there to talk to her best friend about her man trouble, since he's to a guy, and wants to get perspective on what it means when a girl wants to,
If you're doing it, I think you should be able to say it.
Make love.
Wild monkey love or tender Sarah McLachlan love?
Any kind. But what if the girl wants to, and the guy doesn't? That's a bad sign, right?
It's so awkward. He affirms men always want to, unless it's one of the annual 7 minutes that he's too preoccupied to do as such. I thought that was so funny. I picked that up hardcore this time. I thought he just said annual 7 minutes. Like in my head, I heard just the 7 minutes, like out of a day or something like that. There's 7 minutes. He's singing the annual 7 minutes. He said, so one time a year for 7 minutes, a man is too preoccupied to just stop everything and just have sex with somebody. So accurate. But so basically, yes, though, that's bad if they don't want to. He deciphers Willow's coding. She's like, I have this friend. And he's like, bitch, I get you're talking about you. Like, what are you doing? And I'm like, Willow. Once again, she's not communicating effectively. She just walked in here and been like, I've got this problem with Oz. Like, clearly, if it's bothering you, it's personal. She then goes on to tell him about Oz noticing Veruca. And he basically pushes her to just go talk to Oz about it so they can get it behind them. I like how they put Xander in this scene because he is the guy. So like and Willow says it too. I noticed it because I was already writing my notes thoughts wise about it. And I was like, oh, she went to see him because blah, blah, blah. And she actually comes in and says like, well, I felt like I couldn't talk to Buffy about this because like I need a guy's opinion. You know what I mean? And like, thankfully she has this best friend. She goes to fucking Xander's house and stuff like that. And I even like the stuff that at the beginning when she comes in and she's like, your mom seemed kind of grumpy or whatever. And he's like, yeah, she's like, doing all this, that, and the other, and I'm doing whatever. She like, we're in an argument right now because I can't put a lock on my door. She thinks I'll have the sex. And I'm like, well, you're already down there using them black condoms with Anya anyway. So like, she's way behind on that. Like, the fuck?
Maybe they should stop letting girls randomly into your house.
Or something like,
or into the basement.
Sometimes they just appear there. This is the first time I think we've seen somebody walk down those stairs that way. It's kind of funny because later on, continuity wise, that's an error because eventually there ends up being a door in the bottom of the basement for like them to exit out into like the regular world. I'm like, did they put this door in here later for convenience? Like he's not boxing in a basement. What? I'm confused on what's happening. Does that lead up? Is it a door that leads us through a stair back up to the ground level? It's California though, so are there really basements like that in California? Wouldn't they be afraid of like, I mean, maybe. I don't fucking know. I wouldn't want to go in the ground if there's earthquakes all the time. Like, I don't know. Anyways, over at the crypt, Oz is welding the door back onto his cage until Buffy comes in to speak with him, noticing quick that he got out. And right here is where I start to get frustrated with Daniel. Mind you, his first name is Daniel, so I'm calling him that because this is I'm ashamed of Daniel moment. Like, it's not just Oz. It's not Daniel Osborne. It's Daniel. Because Daniel needs to do better. This is where I go, damn, Daniel. Remember that from 2015? Put your white Vans on. So Buffy tells him of the two werewolves, and he acts dumb and says that he didn't see another. She's like, you know anything about that? And he's like, no, I don't know. I'm not even a werewolf. I don't know what you're talking about. Lying directly to Buffy's face. Her noting, though, if she finds another one out on patrol later, that he might have a roomie up in his cage. And obviously he has some kind of face to where like his energetic quality changes and Buffy turns around to leave, but then catches herself looking back to him to say, Oz, are you okay? Picking up on some of those vibes. But he again claims, you know, I'm okay, which is a lie. So now he's not told Willow upon meeting her the first time. He lied to her, essentially not offering up any of the information of what's happening. And now he's not telling the Slayer about what's happening. This isn't just about Buffy and like being a friend group or anything like that. This is literally her job to stop this stuff. He thinks he's got it under control, I guess. But I'm like, and obviously this is probably mostly in like effort to protect Veruca's secret or like not get her hurt or something like that. Because obviously we see how Buffy reacts kind of once she finds out this information later. She's like, Veruca's bad news. I'm like, well, no fucking shit. But like, I just wrote at the very end of my notes, I said, shame, Daniel, shame. Because this is the second time, like, you have people asking you questions to your face, and it's not like Oz to lie. So this is where I kind of told you after we were done watching the episode yesterday, I feel like they're kind of like character assassinating Oz right now in this moment because we don't know him to lie. Like, what, like, it's so crazy. And I get it. It's probably circumstantial. He's so worried about what's happening and what this means for him that he doesn't really kind of necessarily want to face it. He's still processing because this is all within 24 hours. This is really 12 hours that this has occurred. He doesn't possibly have the words, but these are the people that you need to be telling this stuff to so y'all can start to process how to fix and remedy the situation like y'all do every week when it's the next monster. It just sucks because you're part of the monster group this week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. No, and I guess my like thought process really didn't go that far too, because he does lack the accountability for what he's doing right here, where he could kind of fess up and at least even out of worry say something, because I feel like I get him processing, especially because like you are in your head kind of like, okay, this isn't going to last very long, like the full moon's about to be over and then life will go back to normal. So I feel like there might be that part of him too that's like trying to excuse like the severity. He's probably going back and forth, you know, like, is this like, can I get this under control? So I get in fairness to him for processing and not like maybe reaching out right away for someone to peer in on the situation or help or give some guidance or something. But you would think, if nothing else, because Giles is a mature adult and a neutral character, he would at least source Giles out, or someone like that that's not going to be so emotionally involved or have a reaction or go tell right away or something like
Exactly.
that, you know, and
Yeah.
maybe suggest to him that he should be up front and all these other things. So I get he kind of drops the ball here for sure as like being disappointing.
Yeah, literally shame Daniel.
Yeah.
It does lead into a really cool montage of Shy performing, like I guess practicing at the Bronze, because clearly it's during the daytime. They are lip syncing THC's song "Need to Destroy." Oz sitting in his room processing in the montage. Willow sitting with her Wicca group, not paying attention at all to her first little Wicca group like a thing. She's looking out the window and shit like that. A lot of her mind. I'm like, damn, like no one's focusing. And the lyrics to the song resonate with Oz's feelings over Veruca. The lyrics specifically say, "I step out of my skin, werewolf. You wouldn't know me now." By the way, this is a song by another band. This wasn't written for this, so it's interesting how it kind of pairs up, like, and how they've been breadcrumbing us through THC's music being the people that are performing. You know, you wouldn't know me now. You wouldn't know Oz because he's acting like a different Oz. Couldn't you go away? Shouldn't I? Like, shouldn't I go away? Should I not be doing this? Leave me the hard part. It's all I want. I need. I won't be your soft one. I won't be encircled. You might become something I need to destroy. Which is what happens in the episode. Now, obviously, she's thinking that, like, contextually, you start to think, like, that's her talking about Willow later on and stuff like that, like, if you really break it down in that way. But, like, the lyrics to the things, like, I'm just like, and over the montage, too, like, Oz is, like, sitting in his bed thinking, what am I gonna do? Like, what do I need to do? Like, what's the next step? Whatever. The montage then ending with Oz picking up the phone to place a call, and then we arrive with him standing at the cage entrance as the sunset is glaring in. Veruca then enters, having been called to meet him there. She pokes fun at his habitrail, again taunting him about being free out there with her, refusing the cage. He admits that she can't run wild tonight, not just because of hurting people, but offering that he knows that people are going to be out there hunting them. So in other words, he thinks she should spend the whole night locked in there with him, not safe from him, but that sounds like a plan. She goes on to say she's wanted him since before she ever saw him, having sensed him in the area, asking if he sensed her too. Courtney's over here shaking her head, y'all. The two very much sensing the change coming and its arousing effects. He yanks her in, pulling the door shut, locking lips with her as the two change, their hands morphing together, interlocking from human to wolf hands, which is a really cool CGI shot. It's very intimate. You know, these damn werewolves ain't over here. Like, it's for the grab of it for us to witness, because, you know, they're probably feral and stuff like that, but maybe not. Maybe they're not going into fighting the way that they did last time. They're going straight into romantic vibes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. But like the fact that it's so goofy to see the fucking werewolf hands like interlock and then like lower. Like,
that was the worst.
I like it, but it's also stupid. It's the worst. The whole thing, like, I very much love the interpretation and insight on what the change feels like. We haven't seen this before. I love, like, again, the way Paige Moss is acting in this scene. I like the draw of the werewolf saying that this is this big thing you can feel coming. It's all like, she's called it blood boiling. She said it feels like blood boiling. She's like, you can feel the change coming way before. She's like, it's she doesn't say, I don't think it, but she's like attributing it to being something very intoxicating, like a riveting experience, very erotic or arousing in that way. Not necessarily just sexually stimulating, but just stimulating for your body to feel it coming on, this power, this energy that's held up when you pent up for, like, you know, a month at a time and whatever. Now it gets to unleash, which is to go to say that's kind of like thinking about, you know, what we experience when we're about to have sex with someone the first time, or, you know, you have those feelings, those rush of emotions coming from you before you finally let them loose. We've never really gotten any of this information, and Oz always, you know, used to speak about the dark and scary stuff, but here we find it can be a certain kind of experience, almost enjoyable. Like unleashing the beast, as I'm saying. I found that very interesting, but I also like how it pairs and mirrors what it's like to cheat on your partner, kind of how I was just saying too, all that enticing and being attracted to someone. Also the fact of, like, when you're going to be cheating on somebody, because we are cheating on the in this case, it's become cheating. Like, Oz pulls her in, he starts kissing her and shit like that.
Yeah,
this is also attributing to, like, doing something wrong, you kind of fall into it and you just submit your bodies to a natural way of being when it's attracted to another person, obviously, no matter the consequences. It's just like to say when you're not cheating on your partner, you're just like partaking in an activity with another human. Something primal starts to happen when we have sex. We often, as people, kind of become a different version of ourselves when we have sex. I know I do. I've had partners be like, whoa, I felt like I was like with a whole other person like that during that 5 minutes, like just kidding, but basically like that's a whole other version of me. Like we all relate to that, I'm sure. So like it's interesting how we compare that with like the werewolf and like this kind of energy, but it's also cool how you compare cheating to this sort of thrill. Like you get the adrenaline going, it raises the stakes. Like, will I get caught? Like I'm being kind of untamed right now. It's very much how Veruca feels about being untamed as a werewolf, all of that. How do you feel about like Oz basically pulling her in with a kiss? Because that was about the only way he was going to get her in there, because Oz clearly called her there for several reasons. I think not only did he want to do this again, like this is where I call it a catch-22 and stuff like that, like he feels like this is his opportunity to get away with it because it's the werewolf as an excuse. But I also do feel in hindsight and on the flip side of things that Oz kissed her because he knew that was a way to entice her in the cage, because that's clearly what she's wanting to do. She wants to do this again. She alluded to it earlier that day. So like, where do you stand on it, and where was the shock factor for you about him like choosing to kiss her and really fall into this?
I mean, I think that's the part that is confusing for me, because I can't tell how much of it is this primal instinct taking over because of the unfortunate timing with the moon and everything happening. So it's so hard to tell what's kind of organic and logically happening, like what's thought out here, what's intentional, and what's just the circumstantial side effect of them forming into werewolves. The thing that bothers me, I think, the most about it though is I understand on one factor only, and it's only one out of like a million that are left, but I understand on one factor only why he would prioritize having her in the cage with him as opposed to not, to like for the safety of other people and her not attacking them or something, and especially like Willow. And so I get that, but he knew what's going to happen based on what's already happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of inviting it to happen again, using it as an excuse, like you said, for it to happen again. And then I can't tell if, are you trying to keep her safe too? Because Buffy said that she's like, going hunting for this thing. She's going looking for this other werewolf, all these other things. And then if other people were to see her as a werewolf, they're going to freak out and start hunting her too. So it's like, are you also trying to keep her safe? And are you now prioritizing her safety along with not prioritizing your relationship to Willow, to sacrifice all of that just for this one instance kind of thing, where clearly she's been a werewolf. And although we don't know where exactly she came from, she's had to maintain herself to a certain degree. Otherwise, you would hear about it, that there's this random monthly event going on somewhere where people are getting eaten alive or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's so hard and complex and layered with so many circumstantial things that are abnormal. But as far as the cheating element is concerned, it's really shocking that like his logic throughout the day, knowing what he knew happened based on waking up nude next to her that morning, he had all day to think of something different other than like, the end of this day, we need to be in this cage together, and that's my end result. Because
he should have locked himself up in there and let Buffy find that bitch out there roaming around. Easy. He already fixed the cage. He's in there. He knows people that he wanted to protect her, though, because this is the fun part. He's starting to kind of have feelings for Veruca, I do believe, even if it's at a primal layer. It's not his natural organic feelings, but he has developed feelings, and he's also now slept with this person. He feels, I mean, on Oz's side of things, think about it. He finally finds somebody that's going through the exact same thing that he's been going through.
Yeah.
Why would you not be enticed by that? Why would you not immediately be like, oh shit, I found a better partner, someone that can be suited for me, someone that I can't hurt the same way that I can hurt other people when I'm a werewolf. Especially if we both agree to be locked up once per month, then we're locked up like every month, and we know we're both on the same page with this. And then maybe we outside of that we just date. Like, this is where it kind of calls me to my next part of my notes. Like, it says, like, what is your plan after the full moon cycle is over, Oz? Are you just gonna hook up with her once a month and lie to Willow and everyone else? What's the plan here?
Yeah, exactly. I think that as much as I'm glad, and to go back to what you said about being relieved that we kind of don't have to trickle off of this storyline any further and see the aftermath of what happens with them still in the picture, or with Oz at least still in the picture, it is an interesting thought process to go down, and to be like, were you even thinking ahead? Because it doesn't seem like you were. You're just like thinking instinctually in the moment, which was poor.
Yeah.
Like, it turned out poor, especially with how everything unfolded and was unveiled to Willow. It's like the worst case scenario when it comes to being exposed to the fact that your partner's cheating on you, is like seeing it in real time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just that's messy.
And it's interesting too, I don't think I've called it out yet, but Veruca specifically tells him earlier that you've known since the first time you saw me. And then right here she's going, I sensed you before I even ever saw you. Did you sense me too? And then he tells Willow here in a moment, like, I sensed something, but I wasn't like sure, blah, 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 blah. I think Oz has known, like she said, for a while what she was and stuff like that. And he was trying to like hide those feelings, or like whatever intrigue he had. It necessarily didn't have to be feelings at that time, but this intrigue that he had of this person.
Yeah, like a curiosity.
When he clearly said, oh, this girl's clearly a werewolf, I'm sensing something about her, but I'm just choosing not to think about it. Or like what's been going on in his head. Even last episode, whenever you think back to that scene that me and Robbie kind of pondered for a minute, whenever Oz is talking to Willow in the hallway looking for her, and she's being avoidant, like, I'm going to go to the library, and he just doesn't tell her, like, oh no, wait, stay with me, or whatever. We had that whole interaction. We're like, why is Oz acting this way? You know what I mean? It kind of like tracks right here that he's already like disassociating from this relationship in a certain kind of way, which again is just so unlike Oz. I'm just like, I really don't get
weird.
it, but it's weird. Yeah. We'll talk more. The next morning, Willow comes into the crypt bringing Oz breakfast, but that meal very much ends up on the floor, rightfully so, when she sees him and Veruca lying in the cage naked, embracing one another. These bitches are spooning up in here, just saying. Like, this immediate look on Willow's face too, I just immediately go, oh. And then this scene makes me tear up because they awaken, and Oz is quick to jump into laying out the facts now. Willow acts like all of us would in this situation, him claiming he had no other choice than to lock him and her up together. And Willow's by this point pouring tears as she says what I've been saying all episode: you could have told somebody. The fact that she says that is so fucking blatant. It's insane. His solution was not the correct option, as you literally just said. Veruca agreeing hella hard with Willow too before Oz yells for her to leave. I like it, the shot of Veruca getting up. She looks kind of like animalistic getting up, as if she doesn't have a fuck to give whenever she's been caught. She's like, whatever, I'm the other woman, but I also don't care. She's already kind of claiming him as hers at this point too. So she's just kind of like, well, this part had to happen to get the rest of what I need to happen happening. He apologizes, and we all have to cry along with Willow as she claims she knew. And it's so sad for some reason. Like, she, like, in a normal world, people be dishing out all the cuss words in the world, cussing their person all out under the sun. She calls him a fucking jerk. It's such an innocent way of saying, she's like, yeah, I knew, you jerk. It's so crushing. I was like, no.
But it's also so Willow coded, because she does have this sense of innocence always about her.
Exactly.
Where like, I almost don't anticipate her to be like, you know what, fuck you, bitch, or like, like go crazy.
Yeah. He's slitting his tires and burning his house down and shit. He says he remember, not that we've ever done that, just to say. That's Buffy that burns things down. Let's not get confused, people. Yes. We set fire.
We kill you and your whole family in our heads, and that means you're actually dead to us, and no further relations can happen.
We just bring out the scissors and snip, snip, snip. Like Oz said, you know better than to tempt the fates that way, because the fates love them scissors. Snip, snip. The cord won't cut.
That was Spike.
Hercules. All over the place. Anyways, he says he remembers how this feels, and she's quick to level how this doesn't compare to what happened with Xander. When she said that moment with Xander and called back to that, I noticed your demeanor change, and you started focusing in differently. You were like, oh shit. And she's like, besides, I thought that was behind us. He tries to express an excuse that when he changes, the wolf takes over, and he hasn't the control or the memory on what happens or what he and Veruca have done. Another fucking lie. Her calling out that before this, Regular Oz clearly knew he was attracted to her, and he agrees that he sensed something. Her choking up, she's choking up, but her chalking up that up to it was more of an animal way that he was longing for her, and it's a way that he couldn't find in Willow, and he wanted her in a way that he couldn't have her, all the things. Before running out, because rightfully so, like, get the fuck out of there. Willow's like, I gotta go. I get it, because this is emotional boil over here at this point too, especially the admittance of it. She kind of catches him here too when she's like, but you knew before that you were attracted to her. And he's like, I sensed something. I'm like, no, you can literally say the sentence, I was attracted to her. You can say it. We all watched your mouth drop, jaw down on the fucking table, spitting out saliva all over the fucking table. Buffy's over there cleaning shit up, and Giles is picking up his fucking elbow out of a puddle of fucking Oz spit. Like, boy, we all been watching you do this for 2 episodes now. No. Music score that kicks in with this too. This is like where we first start to kind of hearing these, like, what we're gonna call like Willow and Oz's love theme and stuff as well too. It was like made for their episode and stuff. This is what kind of plays at the very end scene too. Super sweet. We find later Willow is walking down Main Street, not paying attention, lost in her emotions, so much nearly getting hit by a car crossing the street. Buffy seeing her from across the street, racing over to her, and we're like, oh fuck, Willow about to get squanched up by this fucking car. But thankfully Riley pulls her out of harm's way. Fun way to work Riley into a scene. Notice Riley's been put in a few random scenes across this episode as well. Buffy makes it over thanking him, but quick to ask Willow what's the matter. And this is where Allison, her acting here is so great for me. She doesn't just put on tears so well. The look on her face and like her quivering lip when Buffy's like, Willow, what's wrong? Like she tries to hide her face, like she doesn't want to be seen crying and stuff. That's so on par with real human portrayal. Like if you feel so emotional, you feel so vulnerable, you're not ready to be seen by somebody, because then you have to admit that what's happened is real. Allison, kudos to you. Like if you're listening to the podcast right now, I know you're not, but girl, claps. Riley suggests getting her home before kindly offering whatever it is not worth hurting herself over. And that specific comment I had to call it to you, because like a lot of people have talked about on other podcasts or just in general and like Reddit forums and things like that, like this line from Riley triggers them, saying like you shouldn't hurt yourself, like it's not worth it. I don't know, I didn't pull from the argument because I didn't want to spend too much time on it, but I was like, what the fuck, I never see it that way for people to be getting offended the way that they do. I was like, his statement has validity. Like he maybe didn't say it correctly, maybe he should have phrased it, no matter what's bothering you, please still pay attention to your surroundings, like until you get home and stuff like that, because clearly you were almost hit by a car, like but people tend to think like he's stripping her of agency right here, or like something else. I can't remember. Like I said, I should have probably done my research, but so many people like get offended by his comment and shit like that, and I was like, I don't think that that's what he meant by it. Like Riley's a nice guy, and I do not like put my mindset that he like meant anything negative about that. You know what I mean? Like whether that be a suicidal like mark or like some kind of like dig towards her, like I really, once again, for the 3rd time now, really wish I remembered exactly what people said before I like went on a tangent about it. But do your own research and like Google people, like to see what other people have said about it and see how you feel about that comment. Like, do you see something like in Riley's comment, people, Courtney, like what he said? Like, I get what he said. I felt like it came from a place of empathy more than it did from like a stab or something,
Totally, yeah.
Especially the fact that Buffy agrees with him in a little bit, because back at their dorm, Buffy's in high gear to say that she's got to find Veruca before sunset, having been filled in by Willow, and angry for Willow on the Veruca's bad news kick. She needs to stop her. She's pressed leaving, but acknowledging Willow being okay or not, and she claims she's fine before Buffy expresses her love for her. And I love that, because I think this is one of the first times, I don't think we've ever heard her say I love you to Willow before, and she literally tells her best friend that she loves her, like letting her know, I'm here for you, can I get you chocolate, can I get you anything,
so sweet,
whatever. But then she relates what Riley said. She's like, Riley was right, don't harm yourself, like let's let this chill. And then Buffy's words about putting the blame where it belongs triggers Willow's perception of pondering as she moves over to her trunk full of magic supplies. As soon as she threw up the trunk, Courtney saw all the fucking candles. Courtney goes, she's like, God damn it. You're like, here comes the next twist. Like, what's happening now? Willow's gonna turn herself into a werewolf, and then she's gonna be like, ha, bitch. Oh shit. Back over at Oz's, Buffy comes in to ask where Veruca is, and him claiming that he's been calling around but no luck, offering he could help track her by maybe following her scent, and Buffy ushers them to leave and to get on that. She's like, well, that's great, and we'll start with that. Oz notices that she clearly has heard the full story, and he tries to speak with Buffy, I guess, on the matter, but she offers this might be a time for his trademark stoicism, aka he needs to shut the fuck up. So he does it and follows her. I love that so much because that's like typical best friendship right there. She's like, boy, you in the fucking trenches with me. We got to go find this bitch because we got a whole situation here. But afterwards, you better know I'm not talking to you for a week. In hindsight, she doesn't know that she won't be talking to him ever again. So that's why Sam and Charlotte were so sad. Which I'm kind of glad that Sarah got these last, like, because remember, like, her and Oz going on the walk in living conditions together when he was a stand-in for Willow, and they were walking around where she destroyed the bench, and she was like out there with him. Like, we got the scene earlier with her in the what do I want to call that, the crypt with him when she asks if he's okay. We get this scene with him and her going out in the woods together. So I was like happy that kind of gave Sarah this moment to like do a little bit of a one-on-one acting with Oz, because we don't see very many scenes with Buffy and Oz together just alone over the whole course of the series at all. Like, it's always a group setting. We find Willow over in a science lab on campus over a flame, conjuring up some magic in the form of Oz and Veruca deceitful hearts being broken. This shit's funny as fuck because, one, we get the call back to science lab because now Willow's like out here on the campus like being like, I gotta use all this stuff. But also Willow is doing really good with her fucking conjuring at this point, because in between the shots of Oz and Buffy out in the woods with the trank gun searching for Veruca, the magic kicks in overdrive with Willow's emotions, and she's doing the damn thing as the books and like the little potion bottles that she's got starting to levitate. She seems very focused in what she's doing. You think with someone like as destroyed as she is right now and upset, that she would not, like, this spell would be messing up, like we saw in the Halloween episode where she couldn't like get the little guiding light to work for her. Back in the woods, they find Veruca's old clothes, but realize that that was a tactic to throw off Oz from the scent, and they realize that Willow might be in danger. They run back off towards the school. Buffy, behind Oz in some way, crashes into one of the military men and falls to the ground. Back in the lab, Willow is almost done with the spell, Willow offering the spell a picture of Oz. But after gazing at it, she drops the image and calls off the spell work. Bad timing as Veruca appears behind her, thankful that she did as such, because she was thinking Willow was about to play rough. I was like, you were standing at the door the whole time watching her, like, she's like, let the Oz and Veruca's deceitful hearts be broken and in the name of hell and all the other stuff that she's saying, and Veruca's behind her. We couldn't just see her off screen, like, standing there being like, what is she doing? Like, okay, bitch, I see you. Go ahead, try to clock me right now. Like, get me. Like, you know what I mean? I'm just like, that's what I see in my head. She's like letting her do all this, because she like goes on her. She's like, damn, I thought you might play rough for a second. I'm like, how long were you standing there, girl? You think she'd be like, fight now, ask questions later or something. Either way. Locking the two in the room, she says, sometimes you have to do what you have to do to keep what's yours. Sometimes you have to kill. Looking over to Willow. Oh, not Willow. That's his window. Looking over to the window, acknowledging that sunset's nearly over. So creepy. And it's nice too, they like, just for the fact that obviously this is a set, they like put like a nice orange glow to the room so that way it looks like it's sunset as well. They did that in the fucking crypt earlier too. I was like, okay, at least they're actually doing stuff. Like, you know, you watch this day and time, you see the person with the boom arm and fucking stuff in the background, unfortunately. But back out in the woods really quick, we see Buffy get up, shoving the person to the ground, the military man, who is reaching for her gun, grabbing it and running off as they scurry to their feet, and they both head off in opposite directions. I love this because we get this little confrontation right here, like we were saying in the beginning. The military men clearly mean something. I guess these military men are also out here possibly looking for a werewolf. So what the fuck does that mean? Who knows about these werewolves? Who knows about rabid dogs and stuff happening on this thing? Like, what is going on? Like, how are these military men always one step of the gang, you know, or ahead of the rest of the gang? Because they're out here sourcing out vampires. Clearly they're out here looking for this because it's daytime. They're not out here searching for vampires. So like, what's going on? We'll find out. Was that a spoiler? Veruca taunts Willow about the spell and how Willow's weak, but not Oz's scent that's still all over her body, because, you know, she's like, that's there in plenty. She's like, smell me, Willow. I smell like your man's. She's like, I smell like his nasty. She's like, you think y'all don't like to shower after sex? We sure don't either. We don't even brush our teeth. Like, you know, because I was making those comments when we were watching it. I was like, damn, Willow and them kissing up in the bed after they just woke up. I was like, I gotta run to the bathroom and at least rinse my mouth out with mouthwash before I kiss my partner. I might give my partner a kiss on the cheek or like a little quick peck in the morning, but I definitely ain't going into full on be in my face breathing fucking me and shit like that. Like, I'm doing you from behind. If we just woke up in the morning.
You're reasonable.
I mean, that's on my own accord. Like, I'm not trying to have my breath up in somebody and me pain.
No, I agree with you.
I know how I be when I'm hovering over somebody, like getting it. Like, I am not trying to be like with fucking more than a hot breath. No. Veruca apparently loves it though. And Willow and Oz. So that's why they should all just been they should have been a threesome. I don't know. You notice how I always say I don't know, but I'm really clear on the fact that I don't know like what the fuck is coming out of my mouth. Either way. She backhands Willow to the ground. Oz crashes in the door, demanding that she not do that again. The change is starting, and Oz says to leave her out of this. Veruca saying she can't. Willow's the reason that Oz is remaining untamed. The two shift further into their hybrid forms. Veruca speaking to the animals that they are, how animals kill. Super cool because they get like, we can tell they're all in front of a green screen, but like for the first time we get to see them actually like slow morphing, and they're still able to like have their dialogue in between this. Her eyes turn like fucking really cool blue, but also she's got like this really nasty chest hair that appears off of her neck and shit. Meanwhile, like Oz, he just gets like extra hair on his face and his eyes turn black and shit. Like Veruca is way more hairy than this man ever is. Like she might be Joey Garcia whenever she's turned, like for real though. She is also right. Oz agrees they kill, and then he attacks her, exchanging blows before eventually becoming fully formed wolves and fighting to the death. Watching you watch this was so cool because like you're like, what the fuck is happening? Like got these bitches, like it was kind of funny, almost humorous because you were laughing a little bit. But like I really like the fact that they're fighting as these hybrid creatures, and then they roll on the floor, and as they roll, they become the werewolves, like in a kind of like a cut scene, and then their clothes like kind of fall off of them where they turn to shreds and shit. It's just really cool how they shot it, like the choreography and stuff there. Veruca, how fully formed wolves. I said fighting to the death. I put ... So I'll say the sentence actually fully formed again. They're fully formed wolves and fighting to the death ... Verucas as Oz eats her throat out, her dying in a whimper because you know they fight to the death. Verucas. That's why I had to continue the sentence the way I wrote it before I went on a tangent in between, like I love to do. How fucking violent, because this motherfucker turns back to Willow and he's got her blood all in her teeth and she's like reaching her hand, she's like, Oz, and I'm like, girl, that ain't Oz. Like the hell, like you done heard him talk all episode about how that ain't the same person in there anymore, and he goes to leap at her ass. Like, so I mean, there is a line, like obviously that's not Oz, and Oz isn't at the level that Veruca was, because Veruca would have been the wolf and still knowing that that's specifically Willow I need to get. There could have been 18 other people in the room, but she would have still chose Willow to go after. But thankfully, Buffy arrives, pulling him back, kicking him down, and shooting him with the trank gun to knock him out, rushing then to console Willow and hold her as she cries. So sad. This is where Willow lets it all out, too. She's just fucking dry heaving in Buffy's chest. And this is, again, where Courtney starts to, like, get a little bit sad looking in her eyes and shit. And make those noises. She whimpers herself. She's now Veruca.
Exactly.
The not dead version. The next day, Buffy sits with Giles at his home, filling him in on what had happened with Willow, Oz, and the whole sitch, but also about what happened with the military men, the same ones that she saw back at Halloween, having just assumed that they were in costume, and now it appears possibly that they're doing some sort of work here, and they think it's worth looking into. They go on to discuss Willow again and how she's hurting, Giles relating Buffy to feeling that way before, and Buffy calling back to how she got through it, but not knowing how Oz and Willow are going to deal with this. I like the little callback. She's like, I ran away, went to hell, and then I got over it. Like, quite literally. But also comparison. This is her best friend. Like, it makes sense. And I like how Giles even calls out saying, you went through this before. Maybe you can, like, help her through this type thing, as far as what he's, like, giving as a little bit of an innuendo. We fade into our final scene, Willow arriving to Oz's, finding him packing his stuff up to leave. His solution? Nope, his decision. She gets no say in this. He realizes Veruca's made him realize the truth. The wolf is inside him all the time, and he doesn't know where that line between him and it exists anymore. And until he figures that out, or what it means, he shouldn't be around her or anyone. He doesn't know how long he will be gone, and she begins to cry, questioning, doesn't he love her? He affirms that in his whole life, he's never loved anything more. He then rests his head on hers. I think it's so cute. He walks up to her, and instead of hugging on, rashing on her, he puts his forehead against hers. That's such a, like, I don't know. That's just a specific way of connecting to somebody. And he consoles her a little bit before kissing her forehead, grabbing his bag, and leaving her crying to herself to leave. Like, that shit was crazy, because, like, looking over at you during that scene, you, like, kind of open your eyes wide a little bit. You're like, damn, he really is leaving right now. Like, what the fuck? Like, I felt this, like, wave of energy come over you. Outside, we watch him leave as their theme plays. He gets into the van and starts it, but then shuts it off. A pause. He sits there, gripping the wheel, taking a breath, trying not to break and trying to stay strong in what he knows he has to do. He looks back towards the house. We get a quick clip of Willow still inside crying. And then he turns back, cranks back up the car, starting the van, but this time he commits, and we watch as the van pulls away, disappearing down the road. We fade to black, and here endeth the episode. And Oz is gone from the show.
It's so sad.
It really is. Like, and just even the last like moments of the scene, this is what always kind of makes me cry in this moment too, because Willow's already blubbering. Like I said, if she's crying, I'm kind of crying. But just like the moment where he like, again, Seth Green's acting, he cranks the car up and then he like takes a moment and sets it down. He kind of takes that breath to himself. He's like, what am I doing? He's really pondering. You know, this is a struggle for him because he cares so much about this girl. He doesn't want to leave. But it's so fucked up. Like the end scene just crushes me, and like I'm sure crushes a lot of you guys. Like Oz and Willow's love theme too playing in the background. I'm like, no, like broken heart emoji.
Know.
If I had a broken heart emoji to put in my notes, I would. I just wrote it out. But I had to stop typing the script when the scene went on because I was like, I had to like rewind it and rewatch it again because I was just lost in the moment. I'd stopped writing. I didn't even notice it. I was just like, my fingers were all on the keys, and I'm like, ugh. Not to mention, like I'm gonna have to rewatch. Like I wrote my notes actually here now. This is later, but I wrote there. I was like, not to mention, I'm gonna have to rewatch it live again with Courtney and see her reaction. Like, do you think Oz made a good decision here to leave?
I do. I don't think that he wasn't gifted a lot of options here. You know, like he didn't have a whole lot of room for seeing his way through Willow and his relationship after all that had happened. And then on top of it, I totally understand the impact all of this has had on him, you know, as much as he's kind of like the person we are disappointed in throughout the episode based on everything that's happened. I think that it's fair to say we don't know what it's like to have to process being a werewolf and all the things that might come along with that. And after things didn't go as they usually do, you know, because it's not like he's newly a werewolf. This has been the case for a while. It's just been able to be maintained. And now that he sees and he's experienced the circumstances of something that could happen often, which is him breaking out of a cage if he's not watched the whole entire time. I get that being a whole weight to bear and have to process a lot of data around like who the fuck you are.
Yeah.
How are you going to go forward? What does this mean for you as a person? Do you have to lock yourself away permanently? Are you capable of good logic anymore? Like, I'm sure it just fucks with your head completely.
Yeah.
So in order to not further hurt Willow, or I'm sure anyone else, but especially Willow, because he's so confused himself, he can't possibly even be a good partner to her, regardless of what he's done. So I totally understand. And like, how do you, you know, because then how do you even explain that to people when you're having so much to deal with and people are going to see that on you and they're going to be asking you like, what's wrong? What's been going on with you? Why are you acting weird? So for the sake of everything, I feel like, yeah, I mean, what other option does he have but to leave? Really?
Yeah.
And you can tell it killed him. At least he didn't go skipping to his van and immediately starting the engine and being like, peace the fuck out. I'm free of my... Yeah. It's not like you don't get the feeling like he's running away to not deal with it. You feel like he's running away to go deal with it. So he can be better and more well-rounded by the situation. And of course, not to further drag Willow down. So I think it's one of those bittersweet choices that you have to make sometimes.
Yeah, kind of similar stuff that you're saying. I was like, I'm sure he was ashamed of what he did, and that's a reason to leave in itself. But I don't think Oz is running from that. I think Veruca really did ignite some awareness in him that he hadn't fully admitted about his like condition or even considered before about like what he is. Yeah. And now this seems like a journey for him to figure himself out. And honestly, sometimes when you have to figure your shit out, it's best that you go do that alone. So that way it's contextual to that. You don't want to, like you said, hurt people or like string them along or have them dealing with this. I think this being so specific to him and something that's internal, and it does mirror just like in, you know, regular life subtextually, like things that we go through that we have to process and work through ourselves, and we need time apart from others to sometimes do that. It's kind of that same thing, and it's an internal struggle we're dealing with, like mental health or things like that. Like you need to be away from people. You separate yourself from those people so they don't have to bear the weight of what you're going through as well, especially when you're trying to fully figure something out that's confusing, or like something like this. You're a werewolf, you're trying to figure out like, what does this mean for myself? Is this something I can get rid of, or like what's my journey like? You know what I mean? It's very interesting to think maybe where Oz is going with this, like what happens to Oz, you know what I mean, with the fact that like, he's leaving and stuff like that, and what he's out there searching for. Hope he finds it. What I did find, though, was themes and metaphor. Always trying to come in with a good segue. I do want to say before I really get into it that Oz's concern about who he really is really fits perfectly with the theme of personal identity. One of the principal themes that we're starting to kind of see be a theme of season 4. Wild at heart really being about the fear of losing control over who you are, though, especially when a part of you wants something you know is wrong. Oz has always been defined by restraint. He locks himself up, keeps his emotions quiet, and maintains control over the wolf inside of him. Veruca represents the opposite. She doesn't fight the animal, she embraces it, and in doing that, she awakens something in Oz that he's been holding back. The werewolf metaphor here shows it's not just about physical transformation, it's about impulse versus control. Veruca lives fully into instinct, desire, and freedom, while Oz has built his identity around discipline and suppression. When he gives into that pull, even briefly, it doesn't just affect him physically, it breaks something in his human life, specifically his relationship with Willow. Willow's side of the story adds another layer, and this isn't just heartbreak, it's a betrayal that feels deeply personal. Unlike Buffy with Parker, this is someone Willow truly loves and someone she's trusted completely. You even see her reach for something darker with magic, trying to cast a revenge spell, which shows how close she is to being consumed by that pain. But she ultimately stops herself, which becomes a quiet but important acknowledgement, although this ultimately shows us what length Willow is willing to go to through the use of magic. There is no easy fix. Oz doesn't just apologize and move on. He recognizes that he doesn't fully understand where he ends and the wolf begins, and that uncertainty is dangerous. So instead of staying and trying to patch things up, he leaves, not because he doesn't love Willow, but because he does, and he knows he could hurt her again. This episode strips away everything down to a painful truth. Sometimes love isn't enough to keep people together, especially when someone hasn't figured out who they are or what they're capable of. And in Oz's case, the scariest part isn't the monster he turns into under the full moon, it's the part of him that chose to give in. Ugh, so true, though. So true, right? Ugh.
Yeah.
It slaps. Okay, it's everything we've talked about. And I love it, too, because I'll be writing this themes and metaphor way beforehand, and then we get to talking, and all of it comes up, and I'm like, yay, it's real. Like, what I wrote is real. What's also real is Buffy fun facts. I've got a couple. This episode marks the last time Seth Green appears in the opening credits because he's no longer on the show. Veruca calls Oz's cage a habitrail, which is a brand of hamster cages, the ones like with the tube-like environment that go all through it and shit like that. That's what that is. And I like her little callback too. I don't have it in my like notes as a quote, but I'm gonna put it here now. I like whenever she's like, yeah, I have like a thing and it's got like a little like what did she say, like a spinning wheel, like a workout wheel or whatever, and a little bell and like all this other stuff. Like she's a fucking mouse or some shit in a fucking cage. Veruca's name comes from the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you know, the horrible little girl that's in that movie named Veruca. There was some cut dialogue, I'll leave you on this one, where Veruca teases Willow about Oz. Veruca says, I know what you love. I have a scent on me right now. Go ahead and cry, but you should have seen this coming. You can't tame a wild thing. He's not yours anymore. If he was in you, he'd be thinking about me. No, not thinking. It's deeper than that. Why don't you just try to relax now? In a minute or two, it'll all be over. I'm like, kind of glad that lengthiness of that was like separated from that, but I was like, damn, had she had been like your man's in me thinking about, or in you thinking about me, I'm like, whoa. I was like, damn. Like,
you're really trying to trigger a bitch before you do something.
Seriously, you might want to watch out. She might float a pencil on you. A silver bullet.
She might float a fucking butcher knife on you.
A silver one. All right, let's float into the final slays.
Final slays.
Final slays. Oz is gone. I'm sad, but at least Veruca's dead. I had that one. I had that one today. I'm going to go first with quotes this episode. I chose Giles whenever he's like, you'd made me feel right at home. And then Xander goes, isn't home that empty place you're trying to escape? It was funny at the beginning. Buffy, when she's talking about Professor Walsh and how she should have a better reward system, like a cookie or a toy surprise, like at the dentist. I thought that was funny because I was like, damn, every little kid ever can like go to that moment when you like are like, I went to the dentist, I put up with it because I wanted that fucking, my dentist when I was a kid, they had a big toy chest that had all kind of loose little things in it, and I would always choose the vampire teeth. They always had like little like Halloween vampire fangs in there. Like I would always choose those, just to say, which is not unironic to this episode and contextual.
That's hilarious.
I had another one from Willow whenever she's like, how come you didn't tell me I look like a crazy birthday cake in this shirt? And Buffy goes, I thought that was the point. Willow, again, a little bit later when she's like, I have wrong feelings about other guys sometimes, but I feel guilty and I flog and punish. And then Buffy saying, exactly, I'm sure Oz is flogging and punishing himself. And then she stops herself and she's like, that is sounding wrong before I even finish. I'm like, oops, shit. And then my final one, because I had to write down 17 this episode apparently, when Oz is like, and until I figure out what that means, I shouldn't be around you or anybody. And then Willow goes, well, that could be a problem because people kind of a planetary epidemic. Like, she's crying and she's still kind of making little like fun jokes because she thinks the situation can be made lighthearted of. So.
Yeah, I do love that for her though, because she's also kind of saying like, aren't you being over dramatic? You know, like you can't avoid people forever.
Exactly.
Just like the fact that you're being logical right now while you're like literally crying a river of tears is crazy to me. I would not be that with it. But anyway, you took my birthday cake shirt though, because that was my favorite one. No, you're fine. My first one was, you made me jealous of you academically, when Willow says that to Buffy, because obviously, like you said, that's kind of like a follow-up, but also hilarious because it doesn't happen that often, obviously. But I do love that Buffy's so accidentally smart. Every time she's been like called out for being smart, it's never been like she studied for this thing or she worked hard on this thing or it's like this big deal.
Just
it's just like by
happened.
accident. And she's like, oops, I did that. Now I have to do this talk for class. And then Giles, when he opens the door and he's talking to Buffy inside of his house, and he's like, you come on business, I hope. And like the way that his eagerness comes out, and he's like, please save me from my loneliness.
Yeah.
And Willow's entire breakdown when she catches Oz is like, I would quote the whole thing if I could, but we'd be here for 4.5 minutes, so I'm not going to do that. But the whole thing is just so, like, you touch base on it when she's kind of calling him a jerk. It's still so Willow coded, but not without completely feeling where she's at, because she's so great conveying the depth of her feelings and being genuinely heartbroken and just immediately getting into character that way. So I love that whole scene. And the last one is where Buffy says to Oz that now might be a good time for your trademark stoicism, because that's AKA shut the fuck up.
Yep. So I'm sitting here looking at my notes, and like I just clicked on it to like make my like actual like cursor come up, and it's just blinking in an empty space where I have Shining Slayer because I did not choose one. I don't know who to choose. I still didn't. And when I did this, obviously I didn't write it down and stuff like that. I feel like this one's kind of, I don't know. Who'd you choose for Shining Slayer?
So overall, so there was kind of two, because they're also my Slade moments. They go hand in hand this episode. So I'll just kind of like kill those now. But my Slade moment, one of them, and my Slayer of this episode has to go initially to Oz for killing Veruca, because she's our primary problem.
Thought about it, yeah.
Yeah. And then my secondary one is Buffy, because she tranquilized Oz, because I feel like he would have eaten everyone in sight. So
yeah. I still don't think I really have one. Like, I mean, I could give like some
but also
Shining...
Willow for just still standing at the end.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I almost got to give it to her for everything she went through and stuff like that. But I don't feel like anybody did anything overly like done. I mean, obviously there was like a couple of moments where Buffy, you know, like you said in the men kind of commended. I like immediately thought to myself, I was like, oh, like Oz killing Veruca and like getting the situation out the way. But also Oz doesn't really deserve to have any kind of shining anything in this episode, because he was kind of being like, he was challenged this episode for us and for himself. So I'm still going to leave mine blank this time around. I have no Shining Slayer. Like, I just can't with
for the
it.
first time ever.
I'm gonna give the Shining Slayer to no one.
You're gonna give Shining Slayer to Oz's van for taking him the fuck out of town.
I know. I was like trying to think just right now. I'm like, do I have anything kind of funny that I could put out there? And I'm like, nope, I don't. So I guess I kind of sort of agree with you, but whatever.
You can give it to Riley for saving Willow from not getting.
You know what? Yes. Thank you. I forgot about that moment. I'm going to give Shining Slayer to Riley this episode for being on par with the.
He's the only one who did any saving.
Kind of, sort of, yeah. Okay, cool. Shining Slayer, Riley. What was giving you the Wiggins?
Veruca.
Clearly. Me specifically, when she was mid werewolf mutation and she's like rolling her neck around and she's like, yeah, Oz, come on. yeah, let's kill Willow.
I know. I'm like, go away.
Girl, my Slade moment, since you've already given yours, was where Oz taking out Veruca, obviously in werewolf form. I think that's interesting because it showed that Oz still had some form of control inside to decipher Willow or Veruca in this moment, and he chose to dig out Veruca's throat instead, even though, you know, he turned right back on Willow a moment after Buffy got there to trank his ass, whatever.
He was like, I'm about to solve both my problems.
It's still an interesting choice within the Beast mind initially, so that's where I kind of gave my Slade moment. And then Slayer at predictions. So, next episode, episode 7, our big episode. If you do not recall, every season we have one episode that leaves us off on what we were dealing with last season and the beginning of this season and ushers us into understanding what's going to happen and what the tonal shift and what the really big overall arc for the season is going to be.
Ooh, okay.
So, what we will be dealing with, who knows? But the title of the episode is The Initiative.
I think this is where we're going to find out who these military fuckers are.
Some initiative you put in this thought. I like your initiative, Courtney.
It's giving the tone of that, so that's what I'll go with.
You're correct. Do you have any thoughts in any way, shape, or form about these military people?
I don't. Like I said earlier, it's really hard to decipher whether they're like, it's hard to decipher their motive. And are they collecting vampires for research reasons? Are they collecting them for war? I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
like, there's
sure.
anything. Are they collecting them to like take their blood and then like become them or something? I have no idea, you know, like an immortal kind of thing.
Sure.
So I don't know. There's a lot of advantages, I guess, you could be collecting vampires for that are all corrupt. So that's an endless list, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, you're very much in the right realm where you should be. You're in the woods. I mean, you definitely have to watch that episode online together. Like, that's definitely a view at the same time kind of thing, just because that's episode 7. So we kind of have to watch that together just so I can see your reaction, because there's some more reveals to come in that episode and I can't wait for you to witness them. But I'm not doing any reaction value. I just want to watch it with you. All right, you guys, that wraps Wild at Heart, but not the sadness. Our guy Oz has left not only Willow, but us. Let us know how this episode made you feel or makes you feel. Did you like the storyline with Veruca and how it played out? Do you agree with Willow's comment on this being like payback, or was that in the moment heated comeback type shit? Do you think Oz and Veruca was eternal soulmates, as delusional Paige Moss insinuates? All the things overall. What do you think of Oz's departure from the series? Give us your thoughts. And in the meantime, we are gearing up to get into episode 6 of Angel next week, so be on the lookout for that one. Until then, go grab your Kleenex, wipe away your tears, and we will talk to you all next time.
Your solution?
That's my decision.
Don't I get any say in this?
No. Veruca was right about something. The wolf is inside me all the time. And I don't know where that line is anymore between me and it. Until I figure out what that means, I shouldn't be around you. Or anybody.
Well, that could be a problem. Because people, kind of a planetary epidemic.
I'll find some place.
Well, how long?
I don't know.
What? Don't you love me?
My whole life. I've never loved anything else.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Buffy on Revamped. Remember to join us next week for a new episode release as we continue our journey through Sunnydale along with our Scoobies. We would love to hear from you, so share your thoughts. Discuss with us your perspectives on this or previous week's episodes by following us on Instagram and sending us a DM at revamped_rewatch podcast or by emailing us at revampedrewatchpod@gmail.com.
And if you're interested in a world left behind, check out my show, Echoes of Elsewhere, an urban exploration podcast where I uncover the hidden mysteries of forgotten places, interview other explorers, and share with you my tips and tricks of the trade. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Until next time,
the Earth is definitely doomed.
This podcast is dedicated to the Buffyverse, to its fans, and my sister, Tiffany Dawn Pearson.